Welcome back to the Bourbon and BS podcast, everyone. This is episode 242. 242. Welcome. As you can see, if you're watching the video live or after the fact, it's cold in Columbus. So a little bit of the fall weather swinging going on here. And it is very, very apparent that it is not quite winter, but we're getting a little taste of, I don't know, it's mid-October, but it feels like late November. I'm telling you. I am telling you.
Well, and it's almost Halloween. And, growing up, that's always the tough part about going trick-or-treating in the Midwest, because you can't just be Spider-Man. You got to be Spider-Man with a jacket.
Yeah, or you just brave it, man. Just brave it. You brave it.
When I see the kids braving it, they're the ones that get just handfuls of candy.
True. But, welcome. We have, it's Nate Hale, myself, Steve Crane this week. Sean Wilkinson might be joining us. If you're familiar with the show, he's here in the audience. The audience may grow a little bit. We'll find out here, see how it goes. But I want to thank you guys for joining us out there in Facebook and YouTube land. Tonight, I want to thank our sponsors. First and foremost, you guys, patreon.com/Bourbon and BS podcast. You guys are fantastic that contribute every month. If you guys want to do a one-time contribution, you can always try at Bourbon and BS on Venmo. So we appreciate you guys doing that. And then also we want to thank Tinderbox at Easton. Tonight, Tinderbox at Easton, Columbus, Ohio, has sponsored the show with an Aganorsa Leaf Maduro. That's going to be the one that we are smoking tonight as a featured cigar. Also want to thank Altadis USA. We have a Romeo y Julieta Reserva Real, and that is going to be our second cigar. And thank you for the continued support from them. And also BS Cigar Company. That's going to be the gold and silver from BS Cigar Company. So check them out as well. If you guys are looking for them, you can always contact the show. We'll point you in the right direction. But we appreciate all that support from all that. And then a little bit bundled up tonight, I've got the blue BS hoodie on, and then Nate's got I got a little bit of a shine there.
Yeah, I've got the podcast hoodie with the Arrowhead logo, but then I got the charity green.
There you go.
Podcast shirt.
And that's going to be at buyjack.com/Bourbon and BS. If you guys are looking for any of the apparel and swag, support the show, look cool, and all that good stuff. So you can layer up in all the podcast and also BS Cigar Company swag if you guys would like. So tonight, like I said, we're going to be smoking that Aganorsa Leaf Maduro from Aganorsa Leaf, and that's going to be by way of the Tinderbox at Easton. So we appreciate that. Like I said, we've, I think, smoked this cigar a long time ago, but we'll kind of go into what the difference is.
Yeah, because they've changed it's more than just the packaging they've changed on it, right?
We'll find out.
All right.
We'll find out. But, and then also remind you guys to please drink responsibly. Tonight we're going to be drinking the Pinhook Rye Munny. That's the 2022 Pinhook Rye, and we'll be talking about that. We just had a sip of that before we got on the show. You want to talk about the cigar or the whiskey first?
Let's do the whiskey since we're drinking it.
Okay. And what do we know about Pinhook?
Oh, I thought you'd look that up because you got the bottle.
Pinhook, we've had some before on the show, but not this one. They do kind of like small batch annual releases, and they also do some greater age on some of their stuff. Yeah,
all their stuff it's all kind of oriented around horse racing.
Mm-hmm.
So every bottle, you have the picture of a racehorse head on it, and each one is named after a different racehorse. So this one is Rye Munny, which is Munny. So horse people love to do play on words when it comes to the name of their horses. Trust me, I know that from firsthand experience. But then they also give color, the sex. This one was actually a filly, so female. Height. Yeah, this is a rye, 99 proof, and it's aged at least 2 years. And this one is actually coming out of Castle and Key. So if you've watched that Hulu documentary called Neat, Castle and Key is one of those that started up about 6 years ago in what was the old
Taylor.
The old Taylor distillery. And one of the ladies that was on that documentary, Marianne Eves, although it wasn't Marianne Eves at the time she was there, she was the first female master distiller in Kentucky, and she started with Castle and Key, but has since left and done some of her own things.
Yeah, we've had her on the show before.
Yeah, we did have her on
she
remote.
Does the Eve's Blind program.
Yeah, which kind of want to get, we didn't talk to Austin about that when we had him on a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
He does he did the Marianne Eve, or the Eve's Blind thing. We should have asked him about that. It's been a while.
It has been a while. And she's also done some collaborations with distilleries.
Yes.
Including a local one here, which was Watershed.
I still have some of that bottle.
I do too. The black one?
Yes.
Or the barrel pick, or both?
Just the black bottle. I think I already drank the barrel pick.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
But I have picked
I might have a little bit left, actually.
I have picked up 2 new single barrels from them because
Okay.
they're having a competition within the house. So you got the kitchen staff and the bar staff having a competition, whose single barrel is the best.
Yeah, they do some fun projects over there.
Yeah.
So this one, Rye Munny, we've got, you didn't go over the mash bill yet, have you?
I did not.
So this is coming in at least 2 years, basically, is the way it reads. So it is younger than what we've been drinking recently.
Yes.
So we have, again, and it's 60% rye, 20% corn, and 20% malted barley.
Yeah, so it's not one of the traditional 95.5 ryes. This one's going to have corn, and I was actually kind of surprised that high of a barley content too.
Yeah, it was too. It's got, I don't want to say a lighter color, but I mean, if you look at that in the light, I mean, it's almost, I don't know, light honey.
Yeah.
Light honey. Almost looks like apple juice.
Yeah. Which, by the way, the last Pinhook product we had was Rye Humor. This is Rye Munny.
I think that was an older bottle, though.
That was a 6 year, something like that.
That was a gift to the show, which was fantastic.
Yeah, you're right. It's got kind of that light golden color to it. Yeah, kind of like a weakened honey.
Weakened honey.
Like
Mott's apple juice.
Okay.
Mott's apple juice.
Sure, there you go.
I think. But yeah, so I like before we get into it, I do like the marketing. It's kind of cool, like you said, with the horses. Each of the bottles has a different horse on it. They call it something different, just like a horse. This is coming in at 99 proof. But did you go over even? I'm sorry, I was kind of sharing on, and I encourage all you guys to do the same. You talked about the name, but about horses. I mean, you talk about the horse size, the color, and sex is all on there as well.
Yeah, I mentioned that stuff is on there. I said it was a filly, which means it was a female.
Yeah.
Horses are measured in hands, and this horse measures 16 hands. That is from the ground to the shoulder is what that height is. And I believe a hand is 4.5 inches. I could be wrong.
This way or this way?
This way.
This way. Interesting. It's like a king's hand, kind of like a foot. Got to be different, these horse people.
I told you.
Custom.
You know someone.
I do. So on the bottle, it does say custom Pinhook mash bill. Just went over that. Every year, Pinhook releases new bourbons and ryes that showcase the best attributes of our barrels. After meticulous barrel selection and blending, we find the perfect proof for each expression, giving the vintage a character as unique as the thoroughbred on the label. And it has, of course, everything's got a QR code now on it. And it's pinhookrye.com. And then, like it says, it says right there, distilled at Castle and Key in Frankfort, Connecticut, and bottled at the Kentucky Artisan Distillery, Crestwood, Kentucky, aged more than 2 years. So they got a decent amount of information on there. They don't have the mash bill on the bottle.
No, but it is on their website.
Yeah.
And yeah, since they're not actually distilling anything and they're basically blending from other distilleries, they don't have a master distiller. They have a master blender.
Correct. Yeah, and Castle and Keys, they put out some products on their own now, so we've had some of those on the show.
Yeah, we've had the rye and I think also the barrel proof rye.
I believe we have, that I brought back from Nashville.
Yeah, isn't that where this came from?
That seems about right. I was gonna say I started clearing out a few of the bottles here when we had Southie movie marathon the other day.
Woohoo! That was fun.
What do we think of this? Seth, did you want a glass? Sean, would you grab a glass? Thank you. Got a first-time visitor in the old garage here tonight. Seen the show before though. Oh yeah. And I'm sharing it, like I said, and I'll tag everyone on the Bourbon and BS community page. What do we think of? Like, what do you think of this pour so far?
So when it first hits the palate, for me, it does have a little bit of fruitiness up front, a little sweet, but then it also has this kind of young bite to it as well.
Yeah.
Which aged at least 2 years, which means it's probably not 3. But then again, rye whiskey doesn't typically have to age as long.
Yeah.
But that's more so with the 95.5 mash bill. With something that still has a 60% corn, like you still kind of want that to age a little bit more. Otherwise, it'll take
rye
or 20% corn.
There you go.
That's still a high corn content in there. So those you would still wish to age a little bit longer in the barrel to kind of get rid of some of that corn water flavor to it.
Yeah.
But what really surprised me, as kind of light and fruity as it was on the palate, the initial finish all of a sudden just kind of hits you out of nowhere. Like all of a sudden we're just sitting here after the first sip before we went live. We're like, wait a minute, what? Ooh, that's got some heat on the back end of it. Not expecting that.
No, I'm not. I was. It's spicy, not just heat for me. Like it actually has some spice to it, in my opinion.
Like a black pepper type of spice.
Very much so. Very much so. You want to pour?
But I think that actually softens the more you drink it.
It does.
Like for me, it already has. Like
Well,
the last few sips, that initial hit on the finish is not as strong as it was initially.
no, and we've talked about that.
Yeah, sometimes your palate just gets accustomed to it.
Well, and even like so when we had Eric Espinosa in town last week, and as he was talking to the crowd, it was one of the things that he equated it. He called me out. Most of the crowd knows, and Eric knows. Been on the show, but he's like, Steve, you drink. I do.
That was a statement, not a question.
And he was asking about the first sip and the second sip and the third, you know what I mean? And I joked, I'm like, are we talking about sips or glasses here? Where are we going with this? But he basically, he was talking about how the first sip of like a bottle like this it does change. And he asked the question. I think that's to you guys. I think it's a good kind of explanation of it because it's obvious, but at the same time, it's something that when you say it out loud, it's something you can really think. Is the actual whiskey changing? Because a lot of times on the cigar side, people think that the cigar is changing. It does a little bit. It's a little bit different. But with this, it's the same thing. You don't need to shake up the bottle. It's not like it's settled or anything like that. It's one of those things that it changes as you drink it, but that's more on your palate.
Yes.
We've talked about it also is that your nerve endings get a little bit numbed from the alcohol as well as you take your first sips as well. Like when we were at the Old Forester distillery, she made a good point of, you can swish it around that first sip of something when you first have your first drink of the day, if you will. And that'll numb no matter what time it is. Right?
Yeah.
I said day, not evening.
That's true.
I didn't say morning. But it's one of those things that you actually change to it.
Yeah.
What do you smell?
I get some fruit note to it, like a pear on the nose. Like it's kind of bright. Like it's fruity, but it's really bright. Yeah, initially I couldn't get that on the nose.
You think you're getting used to it?
Well, my nose is picking up to it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you look on the side of the glass, it has some legs, but
I get a lot.
Yeah. But on the palate, it doesn't really it's not really thick on the palate. It doesn't have much of a viscosity to it. It kind of comes across thin.
Sean says drink. Viscosity. Is that on there?
No, that's not on the game board.
But do you think there is it may not feel like that real oily, but I mean, it could. I think it's still on your glass. It's not going anywhere. That's what I think. Sometimes that is something that maybe it doesn't have the mouthfeel on there. Is that something we can say without?
Mouthfeel is not on the list.
It doesn't have the mouthfeel of like that real syrupy type of a oily whiskey, but it sounds silly to some, but it's got like that lighter oil. It's still there, which I think is part of the reason that it is just that finish is. I mean, it's been there the entire time I've been talking. I still feel it and taste it like on the back sides of my tongue.
So sitting there going, yeah.
Yes, that's like, yeah, no, that's exactly what I'm getting. Sean?
It's like synthetic oil, it's a little 10W30 instead of 10. No, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say it. Anyway.
Full synthetic here.
Yeah, full synthetic.
We're going AMSoil, not Pennzoil.
So, yeah, it's nice and bright and kind of young on the front end. And it's got some sweetness to it. I do smell the pear. But man, that on the back end, holy shit, man, you feel like going all the way down. And it kind of sticks there for a little bit. But hey, it's cold. It keeps you warm.
I was happy when I picked this up today. It was just something I was like, all right, so we've got a rye. I didn't know the mash bill yet, but a rye is something, again, 100 proof or 99 proof. Not the hottest thing, if you will, or the highest proof that we've had, but this is the cooler weather. This is when I'm all for the barrel strength and the ryes, man. This is where I'm at with it.
I like this way better than 90-degree heat and drinking that shit.
Yeah, not good for 90 degrees. But I'm going to go over some notes that some other people had, but you guys are saying pear? Seth, feel free if you want to grab the mic. Just Sean's a pro at that, so he'll help you out. You think pear? Okay. I'm gonna say what some of the notes are here.
I was gonna say, are you gonna say apple?
No, it's gonna be one that when I say it, you're gonna take another sip, and I'm gonna see what you guys think. So don't take a puff off the cigar yet. All right. Not nectarine.
Clementine.
I'm gonna pull up their website also here to show you guys, but I wouldn't have picked this out, but because I looked it up, I ruined it.
If you say pawpaw, I'm gonna smack you in the back of your head.
No. All right.
Most people outside
stop guessing. Shut the fuck up, Donnie.
Most people outside of Ohio or within Ohio wouldn't even know what a pawpaw is.
All right, so I will say this, you guys, you did well. Because on the Pinhook website, the 2022 vintage of Pinhook Rye showcases bright aromas of pear, clove, walnut, and honeycomb.
Okay, honey.
On the palate,
Clove.
Baked apple, black pepper, which you said, and that's exactly what I was, and toffee.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. Now I'm going to say this. On the nose, this is someone else. Banana flambe.
That's on the website?
No, this is on someone else's. Yeah, pretty much.
Banana flambe. Yeah, caramelized
Take
bananas.
one of these
Good
torches,
call, Seth.
you shoot it at the banana.
I actually last Friday when I was doing that cigar and gun event, there's actually is an attachment for a rifle that is a flamethrower.
Like how much of a flamethrower? Like a real
8 feet,
10 feet. All right.
Yeah, sit there on the back patio or whatever, flambeing some bananas with your rifle.
You can go through a lot of bananas with that thing. Donkey Kong's gonna be upset. It also says on the nose on this one: new oak, fresh vanilla bean, and faint yellow cake.
Faint yellow cake. Isn't that vanilla?
Yeah. I like this one just because as we go through this, the palate, they've got some similarities. The vanilla, cinnamon apples, they say. So, I think it's,
baked apples.
Yeah, right there. Rye spice, dehydrated bananas. They're sticking with that banana theme. And so that's what I'm saying on banana. When you guys take your next sip after not smoking a cigar, see if your brain turns on the banana taste there.
Mm-hmm.
Did it?
Yes, it did. God damn it. I hate when you do that.
Fucks with your head, man.
It is. It could be a mental thing.
Now it's like the only thing you taste. It's like,
there is that whole psychological thing. But yeah. All of a sudden, everyone in the garage is like, "Yeah, banana, son of a bitch."
I'm telling you, it was interesting that they got that. And then the finish is, I think, what we talked about from this review here, and this is breakingbourbon.com. We like looking at them. So shout out to those guys. A jolt of rye spice.
A jolt.
That's the finish. I mean, it's boom. They said light leather, dry oak, peppercorn mix. That's
Black pepper.
exactly it.
Yeah.
And a lingering heat and spice, yes, and then light banana. That man, I don't know. They got banana. Dude, yeah, they had bananas on their mind and on their palate, nose, and finish, man.
Wow. All right.
And like I said, now that you say it, though, you're fucked.
Maybe they just got done eating a banana Foster or something.
Maybe. I don't know.
That was a tasting note on a cigar that I read recently. Was banana Foster. No, it wasn't a flavored cigar. Yeah.
No, I think it's interesting that they do this stuff. I mean, again, the price on this bottle is super reasonable, and again, I think it's because the 2-year statement. It's not a mass produce bottle. You're not going to be able to find this everywhere, at least in the state of Ohio. I'm not sure how the availability is elsewhere. This is one that, you know, they typically on some of the liquor stores that have, like, they kind of have the more unique bottles. This was one at the local liquor store that they didn't just put out on the shelf. So, I mean, it is kind of cool to come across it. If you haven't had it and like bananas, according to this this website, definitely pick it up. But the 2-year bottle, I think, again, at that $40 price, it's $37.99, but around $40 price point, I think it's safe if you've had a Pinhook before, Pinhook product, for $37.99, $40, call it.
Yeah.
I think it's safe for you to pick this one up, especially if you like ryes. They have a bourbon as well. I have not had from the 2022 bourbons. And they have a, they don't call it, it's not foolproof, it's not barrel strength, it's something else. It's like full strength or something like that. That's what they have a third of the year. So
this could also be one of those ryes for people who may not be that big of a rye fan and they're wanting to try it. Because it's got so much corn and malt in it. It's not just blasting you with that 95.5 mash bill. It's going to be a little bit lighter than that. And when I was looking it up.
High proof bourbon, sorry.
High proof. High test? What? No.
High proof, baby.
But I think one of the reasons why this is actually a younger whiskey is because the filly that this was named after is a younger horse as well. The horse only has like one career start so far in to their name.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a 2-year-old filly.
Okay.
So they're not that.
Yeah.
The horse wasn't that old, and neither is this.
Yeah.
Maybe that's one of the reasons they did that correlation.
It would make sense that they go towards some of the younger horses, you know, when they're naming these.
Maybe,
for sure.
Yeah, maybe when the horse was born, that's when they decided they were going to do this.
It'd be interesting.
And had Castle and Key distilled this, so that way they could then, a couple years later, name it after that one. That'd be interesting to find out.
Fold, March 10th, 2020 is the actual horse. Huh. They have all the information on the horse on the website too.
Yeah. They got.
I mean, they've got starts 1, career earnings so far 14. So yeah, $1,426. Yeah. Tell who the parents are, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah. That's the way it is with the horses. The whole equestrian world. Yeah. They sit there and, you know, those genealogy charts and everything. They keep track of that stuff. That's why sometimes, you know, some horses will be worth more just because of who sires them.
That's interesting.
My father-in-law used to breed quarter horses, and yeah, he had one that before the mare actually gave birth, he had someone offering like $50,000 for the foal before he was even born because of who the mare and who the sire was.
That's insane.
You got bit by a horse. All right.
Do you want to tell the story? Are you still upset about it? Okay.
He's
It'll be quick.
I hope
When I was
so.
a kid, I was at a camp and we were horseback riding. My horse went and bit another horse in the neck. I don't know if they had some kind of rivalry, it's like a gang thing. I wasn't sure, but
It's a gang thing.
Yeah, like a horse gang. I don't know, but
Do you know
later on,
gangs?
the other horse came back and bit my leg and ended up putting like 4 blood marks. It was on my knee, and I had 4 perfect like teeth marks that were bloody, and then a black and blue ring. It looked like a giant hickey. Scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
And I couldn't swim for the rest of the week because I had to get a tetanus shot. And
What are you most upset about in this story?
the fact that the guys that were raising the horses were punching the horse in the mouth, my horse in the mouth, because they thought my horse bit
Maybe
me.
that's why it went off. You ever think about that?
This is after the fact.
I mean,
So
right, not the
anyway,
first
they
time.
were treating those horses like shit, and that's what I didn't like about it. I mean, it hurt, scared me, but I was more upset about the horses getting hit.
Well, the place where where my wife boards her horse at, the lady was feeding by hand one of the horses there, and this has been several years ago. And she even she'll admit like she made a mistake the way she was hand feeding this horse, and that horse actually bit off the tip of a finger.
Jesus.
and my wife was the only other person there at the barn, so she had to call the squad to come get her. And they're like, "Yeah, maybe we can find the finger." And she's like, "No, you're not going to dig into my horse's stomach to try and find the tip of my finger." Like,
Those are fun stories, guys.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyone
Who
else
wants
want
to
to
go
talk about being bitten by an animal?
You want to go horseback
Horses,
riding?
otherwise.
Who wants to go horseback riding?
Ray Cheshire chiming in now. Good morning to him. Ray, if you have any horse stories, and I said horse, not horror stories. We're not
horse.
talking about Halloween yet. Oh, Jesus. You're not even on the microphone, which is probably better.
Yeah, for that comment.
Probably better. Good morning, Ray. Welcome to the show.
Sean just said that even out in the field, horses will establish a pecking order.
Really?
And you're not on top.
I was the bitch.
Oh.
Yeah, still are.
Yeah. Oh. Again, we're not hearing both sides of the conversation, just so you guys know. If you want to call yourself a bitch, do it on the microphone, please.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Jonathan Herring. Oh, shit. Oh, that's not the comment I was going to pull up. I went on a date with a girl who looked like a horse once.
Wait, she one time looked like a horse?
And then he
or
also
you went
said
out
this
with her one
podcast took a dark turn. And then Ray did say, I thought you said whore stories. And that's when the whores come in. Yeah, okay. All right.
Wow.
Aganorsa Leaf Maduro.
Good turn.
Good
transition.
Nice segue, guys. Horses, whores, and dating horror stories, I guess.
Those whores that no.
Jesus. Aganorsa Leaf Maduro. So Aganorsa Leaf is formerly known as Casa Fernandez.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the opportunity this week to meet Terrence Riley. I also, you guys will have an opportunity to listen to the podcast. He's going to be joining the show on November 2nd. So he'll be remote. He was just in town, but he's going to be remote with us. And I'm looking forward to kind of hearing where he comes into the company. And this was right before they rebranded as Aganorsa Leaf. Aganorsa Leaf. Aganorsa is basically the parent company, if you will. Eduardo Fernandez made a lot of money on Wall Street. Then he made a lot of money running a huge pizza chain in Europe. Sold that, bought basically the farm, and I'll get more information from Terrence when he comes on.
Bought the farm. All right.
Basically bought the farm down in Nicaragua. And so they don't just do tobacco, they do livestock, they do other agricultural type of farming that they basically, like I said, this is part of their business. But they are very big in Nicaragua, and they have they grow a lot of tobacco and basically sell over 80% of their tobacco to other companies.
Mm-hmm.
And so this Aganorsa Leaf is their own brand, and they basically, and again, we'll review it with Terrence with more specifics in a couple weeks here, but there was a lot of confusion when they did the Casa Fernandez. Then AJ Fernandez kept getting bigger and bigger, putting his name on it. There's confusion there, and they wanted to kind of streamline it to be what they thought the strength is of the name, which is what they do, and they grow some of the best tobacco in Nicaragua, and that's the Aganorsa Leaf is what they call it, right? So it's different seeds. It's not a seed strand Aganorsa, but in their I guess slogan is strength of the leaf, or strength is in the leaf. So this Maduro is the same. They didn't really change the blends. At one time, they were rolling cigars in Miami, smaller amount of cigars, some of their small batch stuff. They actually used to do the BS Gold for us, and that was rolled in the Miami factory. They have since, basically before COVID, they had really lowered the production out of the Miami small factory. I mean, it's this size of the garage, but just in a different shape. I mean, it was small. I think 16 rollers probably could have sat in there. But
so 8 tables.
Yeah, with COVID, I mean, you're looking at, so then it was down to one person, and they basically still do a little bit with that, but all the stuff's coming out of their Nicaragua factory. They also make some other stuff. So I had a customer in today, actually, that was looking for, like they said, I'm really enjoying Illusion stuff. And I said, well, we do have some of that, but have you had Aganorsa Leaf? And explain that's who makes those cigars. And he was all in, smoked the Aganorsa Leaf Corojo, and enjoyed it in the shop. And he said, how many blends? You have 3 different blends. Give me 2 of each.
Okay.
So
they also do some stuff for Gurkha.
They do some stuff for Gurkha. They do for Sindicato as well. So they make some cigars for other people. But then this is, like I said, this is considered their core line. It's their I'm not going to try to say it in Spanish, but the validation line, basically. Okay. And this Maduro is
La Valedición.
Yes. It says it right on there, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
So if they never did change it, it's a San Andres wrapper over their Nicaraguan tobacco.
Okay.
Sean, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I was talking to my guy.
Hold on. You might want to let me unmute your mic.
Sorry.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you, Nate.
Cover the hat. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
When I was at the tinderbox picking this up today, Brian mentioned that the Corojo leaf was from the original BS Gold from these guys.
Yeah, there was a Corojo wrapper on that.
Was it
BS
from
Gold.
these guys though, or
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was all their tobacco at one point.
So, would the current one now be similar to the old Gold with the Corojo wrapper, or was there different fillers?
But it's
Just touch on that. The BS Gold now is made by Plasencia.
right.
They basically, based on flavor, they kind of reconstructed the cigar.
Okay.
It's not the same tobacco. It's Plasencia tobacco. It's not the same blend. It is something that was basically recreated to mimic the flavor in some way.
Okay.
And they got it pretty fucking close.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Good.
that's great.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, the wrapper actually has a very toothy look to it, like all the little bumps and spots on it.
Yeah, it's not the smooth. It's a soft box press for those that aren't, haven't seen it. But yeah, there's definitely leaf veins on there. There's some bumps. There's, it's not the smoothest.
No,
but mine.
I mean, a lot of the cigar guys might know what we mean when we say
You're saying toothy on the
like it's got, like, you can see those little tiny bumps on the leaf, but
yeah,
it's not like it's not like the leaf is uneven or smooth. No, it's just that's the characteristic of certain types of tobacco leaves, is to have that toothy quality to the look of them. And that's kind of what this has, and I actually see that a lot with that San Andreas.
Yeah, I do like this blend a lot. For Maduro with the San Andreas on there. They did something, there was a couple things, and we'll go into it with, I'm trying not to jump ahead for 2 weeks from now, but for those that were big Casa Fernandez fans, the Maduro, the Corojo, the Habano, whatever it might be from them, even their anniversary cigar, they consolidated, basically streamlined the sizes.
Okay.
Before it was kind of like, the Corojo comes in these sizes a little bit different, and then the Maduro comes in these sizes that are a little bit different. Now it's the standardized, all those come in the same sizes, which I can appreciate.
6x50 on this?
This is a if I'm not mistaken, it's a 6x50. I want to say 54 box, if I remember back. It might be a 52. It's not a 50.
Okay. It doesn't look like a 54, but
no, but I think the old one was, and that's probably what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. I remember the old one having more of like a horizontal box press, whereas this one's
we
more
had
of
a 58. I know.
Yeah, that could be. That one had more of a horizontal box press. This one's more of a square box press. But yeah, it was when I was smoking that old Casa Fernandez Maduro, and I think it may have been the 58 box press.
It probably was.
That one of the guys at the shop who has a history of doing this grabbed my cigar instead of his cigar.
Okay.
And he was smoking a flathead.
Definitely different.
So when I saw him the next day, I was like, "Hey, did your cigar taste a little different when you left?" He goes, "Yeah, it did." And I was like, "Yeah, you grabbed mine."
Yeah, nice.
It was one of these.
Well, what do you think about the branding on this? So again, not to really, because people don't really know as much about the Casa Fernandez, but I mean, this is I would call it interesting, but I mean, what do you think about the branding on this?
So
talking about the actual bands on it,
there's a lot of detail I think there's a lot more going on with the bands now than the old bands.
Oh, 100%.
But I kind of feel like the colors that are on this, like even the gold, feels a little bit muted.
Really?
Like it's not very bright, shiny gold like on the BS.
Yeah. So
But-
it's not. It's pushing towards that gold dust look that you can't do in the United States.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not quite. But if you look, especially on the tobacco leaves that the arm is holding, where it's not as embossed and in your face.
Yeah.
It has like a true
Pretty reflective
gold leaf look.
Yeah, it does.
It's
yeah,
not the shiny gold like that.
It's like a different type of gold on the leaves than it is like on the medallions.
Yeah. It's I like what they did for the most part. I think the Maduro, where they have Maduro and that where the secondary band basically says Maduro or Corojo or Habano. I don't know what it is, and I'm very picky. I don't like the font they use for Maduro. I think it looks like typewriter-esque.
Yeah, it does.
I feel like they could have softened it up a little bit. It looks I like it to a point that it looks very personalized, like when like a Padron has the typewriter for the number and all that stuff. So I don't know if that was the purpose, but I feel like it is a little bit. It's the whole thing is working until you get to that Maduro.
Like, so they should have used the same font as like the Aganorsa. That's right.
Probably. For me, yes, probably. I don't know. It's just it's weird. I don't know. It kind of looks, like a typewriter. But other than that, I know I went straight to the negative. I like it. I like the detail as you turn the cigar in your hand. There's a lot of detail on the primary band. It's very it's got a nice contrast between the gold leaf and the really flat colors on there, if you will, the flat, like matte colors. Yeah. And then it does have that arm, which is that the strength is in the leaf, or their strength is the leaf is really what that symbol means. And then you do have, what does it say? Established 1998 there. So, yeah, I like the new branding a lot more than the Casa Fernandez. Not that we really talked about that
on the backside, like the two circles that are on the back of the band, one says Esteli and the other says Nicaragua.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a nice pack. They come in 15 count boxes as well. So when you're looking
15?
Yep. When you're looking at the box purchases, makes it a little bit easier. It's price point. So technically the three different blends it's within like cents. And I even talked to Terrence about this. It was like when we got them in, like we brought in the three blends again. It's like we just basically priced it. Sounds bad, priced it at the highest one just to have uniform. But it was all within like 30 or 40 cents. You know what I mean? So it was like, well, I don't want to have to explain. It's like, well, why is the Habano like, $10.75 and the Maduro is, $11.25 for they look the same. You know what I mean? So it's like, and he even said that streamlining the sizes, he kind of had a similar thought, is like, well, why didn't we just price it? But they looked at it as we want to be more honest with our pricing for what we have in the cigar. I can appreciate that. But again, when you put out three different blends that all look the same, they're all part of your core series, just dumb it down for the rest of us. You know what I mean? Like, so it's coming in, I think it's $11 to $12. It's an average price cigar at this point, in my opinion, on the shelf. And it smokes, I think, very well. How's the construction?
I'm past it now, but I had a little bit of a tunnel on one of the sides. So that side was starting to burn a little fast, but it's pretty much evened up now. It's a little bit tight on the draw, but it's not something that I really, really have to pull hard on.
You had a problem with your draw last week, too.
I did.
Sean, how's yours? Tight?
I like it a lot. It's for me, mine in particular is like great construction, good burn, nice mouthful of smoke when you drag it in, and I like the flavor. Get some leather on the retro, and it's like one of the first ones I've had kind of similar tastings with retro and on the palate.
I would agree with that. It doesn't really change a whole lot. It just kind of expands the flavors that you're already getting.
Yeah. So, and is this a medium? Medium mild? It just seems pretty light to me.
For me, it feels like
might be that spice blast that you had in the peppercorn. Peppercorn bananas.
Damn it, now the cigar tastes like bananas.
God damn it. Well, Sean, you're eating a banana, for Christ's sake. Like, they can't see you, but come on.
No, like for me, I don't get a whole lot of richness of flavor on the palate. Like there is some flavor there. Kind of some of those dark earth type of notes to it, the leather. I get more spice through the nose than I do on the palate. And it's like a black pepper.
Yeah, it definitely amps up the pepper.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It's lingering as I'm talking because I just retrohaled.
But I was actually kind of surprised because I kind of remembered the Casa Fernandez Maduro, even though you said it's the same blend. I kind of remember that being just a little bit heavier, a little bit richer, like more of those coffee or espresso type notes to it.
I would tend to agree with you, actually. And Brian at the shop, Brian who owns Tinderbox, and I both kind of said the same thing. What we remember of the Casa Fernandez Maduro was that it was a little richer. It was like coffee. It was a very full, again, going like to that mouthfeel. It wasn't as in your face peppery, and the retrohale wasn't quite as that. It was almost a little bit more balanced.
Okay.
And that's what I remember. And that's Brian and I both agreed on that, is that was something that from recalling smoking the other one, which we liked the cigar, it was, and maybe it was like we were smoking the 58 ring gauge. Maybe that smoke's a little different. You never know how that can affect it with the ring gauge, but it definitely, it's not young. It's not like there's ammonia or anything like that.
No.
It's a little punchier.
Yeah.
And now you got Sean sneezing because of it. Yeah. Yeah.
But no, like, as I've been getting into this cigar, I've almost been sitting there like just waiting for it to pick up a little bit. Just because
how?
Like just that strength. I've been almost waiting for that strength to pick back up. But I think this comes across more like a medium in terms of the strength of the cigar, as well as the flavor a little bit. Like it's not a very rich, dark flavor cigar. There's flavor there. Don't get me wrong. But
I'm just listening. Go ahead.
I'm talking about the strength of the flavor. Like the flavor's not punching me. It's there. Like you definitely taste the tobacco and all the other notes that we talked about, but it's almost like because of what I remember the old one. Like I'm almost waiting for it to pick up and get to that point that I remember.
So I'd say that the palate sensation on the previous, the Casa Fernandez Maduro, the one that we recall, is it was one of those cigars that kind of coated your mouth. This one has a little bit cleaner finish, is how I describe it.
Yeah. As
opposed to there's a handful of cigars that come to my mind that had that kind of a mouthfeel as you smoke it. I mean, I'm talking, it gets on like inside of your cheeks, roof of your mouth, like, I mean, it's like, sounds gross, but like on your teeth, like it's just,
yeah,
it permeates everything in your mouth. Like Christoph GC does that for me. You have this cigar did it. I'm trying to think of something else that did that to it. I think the Perdomo Habano Maduro does that a bit too. It's just, this is really, when you're saying punches you, or like that richness, I think for me, what I'm kind of equating that to, or kind of trying to relate to, is that it just even after you're done, like you're halfway through the cigar, after you smoke it, it's just all over the inside of your mouth.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you're talking about? Or like, what do you,
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay. Yeah, this one does, I think, have a bit of a cleaner finish.
Well, think about
Still have a little bit, but again, and have you smoked this without the whisky before?
I have.
Okay.
I smoked them like a week after we got them in.
So you are okay. You're speaking from that experience.
I smoked all three blends.
Okay.
But like, and I mentioned earlier the toothiness of the wrapper. You also see that in the ash as well.
Yeah.
Like you see those little tiny bumps in the rings of the ash as well. But no, like talking about the richness and the way it coats, the same thing happens with whiskeys. Like you have some whiskeys that just come across lighter. They're not that thick, and they leave a very clean finish on your palate. And then you have those ones that are super oily, like a lot of the barrel proofs or stuff over 100, super oily, that just coat your entire palate because they're not watered down. That's kind of the same type of comparison that we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm going off of what Terrence said, that they didn't change it. That's the statement of everything. But again, you never know, especially to my knowledge, maybe we can ask that question in 2 weeks, is, everything else they grow. But from my understanding on a lot of the Maduros that they not only make for their own line, but also for Illusion, when we were actually blending with them, we were looking at a potential second blend, and with a Maduro wrapper, Maduro shade, it would have been the San Andreas. So I think, wherever they're possibly buying it from, I don't think they're growing that seed down there and calling it that. I think it's something that they could be buying, the wrapper leaf.
That's possible. I mean,
and so again, depends on where you're buying that. That could be part of it as well. Maybe what they're buying and the way they're buying it, maybe they went from one supplier to another. You just never know.
I think what is interesting is I talked about how my draw felt like it was a little bit tight, but when I pull through the cigar, the amount of smoke that comes through the head of it.
Yeah.
Like it's actually still pulling smoke through the head of the cigar.
So
it's
maybe Ray is right that
it's
it's
just
user error.
No, it's like as I feel it, it's a little tight right where the band is. Just right there. It's a little bit tight, but then it's a lot softer everywhere else. So maybe I need to get my draw poker out.
maybe. But again, if it's pulling through after you're done smoking it, I mean, I'm not gonna say you're doing it wrong, but that's it. I'm not gonna say it. Don't do that. Ray says, give her a squeeze, man.
I have been.
Give her a little squeeze, talk nice to it. All right, so unless you guys have any other questions on this, comments on it, let's go into the rounding out part one here. Okay, so this is where we do the whiskey, the cigar, and the pairing reviews out of 10. If you feel like you want to chime in, Seth, about the whiskey, what are you smoking tonight?
Knuckle Sandwich Maduro.
There you go, from Punch. Oh no, that's
Espinosa.
Knuckle Sandwich. I sold a Knuckle Buster today. I'm sorry, Knuckle Sandwich. I know.
Wow.
Knuckle Sandwich, Espinosa. Who you have?
I hope Tyler's not listening.
I hope he is. I hope Eric's not.
Or Guy Fieri.
I don't think Guy's listening.
Yeah, he might be a little busy.
Yeah. So yeah, Sean, you grabbed the mic. You want to do the pair. So if you guys haven't listened to this before, we do 10's the best, right? You do 3 different ratings here. One on the whiskey. That's the Pinhook Rye Munny. And then you do a out of 10 rating on the cigar, which is going to be the Aganorsa Leaf Maduro. And then the pairing, however you want to, does it pair well? Does it build off of each other? Does it, however you want to rate it?
For the Pinhook, I'd do a 7.5 on that. It's okay. I mean, it's like I said, it's a little young on the front end and then pretty strong in the back. I think there's potential. I'd like to try something down the road that's a little bit older, a little bit more mature, see what it would be like. I think it does have a lot, that could definitely come into play. With the cigar, I really enjoy it. I took a bigger retrohale last couple minutes and I get a lot more of the flavor. And I do like it. It's well constructed. I love the wrappers too. I agree with you. The wrappers are really nice. And I'm going to give that 8.5. And then the pairing is not too bad either. I'd probably give that an 8 just because you've got a little bit of a
not
strength.
Too bad.
Yeah.
What was your cigar? 7.5?
No, 8.
8.5.
8.5. Sorry. Cigar 8.5.
7.5, 8.5, and 8.
Right.
Yeah.
And the pairing was an 8 just because I think there's a little bit of a contrast, which is good with, you got a little bit of heat on the Pinhook and then a little bit of a milder with the cigar in comparison. And I did the old take a hit, take a drink, and then take a cannonball.
Cannonball coming.
And it definitely brought out some more flavors, I think, when you do it both ways.
Yeah. So. You want to do anything? You good? All right. Spectator only, first time, First time.
Don't put too much pressure on them. We want them to come back.
Say something. God damn. Do Sam Kinison on him. That's fine. You don't want to say anything. Go ahead, Nate.
So for me, I'm a 7 on the whiskey. I mean, it's good. I was actually kind of surprised when you said it was only $37.99 in the state of Ohio, compared to some of the other Pinhook products that I've seen out there.
Right. But remember, this is their everyday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually really smooth for a 99 proof, I think. I mean, yeah, I mean you're almost to that 100 proof mark, but it still comes across fairly smooth on the palate, a little light. But then that finish was definitely not something that I was expecting. Like I was the last person between the two of you to take a sip of the whiskey, and you guys were sitting there going, "Holy shit!" And I was like, "Really? It's got that much?" And I tried that first sip. I was like, "Yep, there it is."
Yeah.
Not expecting that at all, because we've had some take other turns before recently. Like we've had some whiskeys take some weird left turns, but that one was actually a pleasant surprise given how light it was on the palate initially. To have that kind of robust and peppery finish,
I agree.
was not something I was expecting. Just holding that first sip in.
So it does a lot, but it's not necessarily your favorite.
No, but I agree that it's more of, an everyday type rye.
Yeah.
Or like I said earlier, someone who doesn't consider themselves much of a rye fan because they've only had like the 95.5 rye mash bills. This one's a little bit more approachable because it's only a 60% rye, 20% corn to add a little bit more of that sweetness to it. And then, having that high 20% malt, that gives it a little bit more of that earthier nuttiness to it. So I do think it's a fairly well-balanced whiskey for, being as young as it is. On the cigar, I'm also a 7 on the cigar. It's a good smoke.
What was it? 7?
7.
7, right?
Yes. Another, the cigar doesn't really blow me away. I kind of like the other two a little bit more. I think I have to go. It was 2 weekends ago, I think, when I smoked them. So I may have to go back to them. But no, the cigars, it's good construction. It's burning well. Like I said, I had that one small little section that had a tunnel, but I didn't have to relight or anything, and it evened itself out. It's pretty consistent all the way through. It's not a complex smoke. It's got a decent flavor, not an overwhelming type flavor, kind of like what I remember. For the pairing, I actually give the pairing a 7.5 because kind of like what Sean had said, when I smoke the cigar and then go to the whiskey, that whiskey tastes a little sweeter and a little thicker when it comes across the palate. So even though, I'm a 7 on both the cigar and the whiskey, I think together they're just a little bit better.
Okay.
I think the cigar with, that the earthiness and little spice of that cigar kind of brings out more sweetness at the front of the whiskey.
You got pepper on both.
Yeah.
Well,
but the pepper on the whiskey was, on the finish.
I know.
And there wasn't a whole lot of sweetness like, what we talk about with some of the bourbons. There wasn't that caramel or vanilla or butterscotch type of sweetness on it, but having the cigar with some of those more earth and spice up front, it kind of makes that sweetness of the whiskey. Because we talked about it a little bit earlier, the flavor and sweetness that's there at the front, it's kind of muted a little bit, but with the cigar, it kind of makes that sweetness more pronounced.
Yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that. The whiskey for me, I'll give it I'll give it a 7.5. So I'm kind of in the same ballpark as you guys on it. The price point on this one pushes me to lean a little bit heavier than that. I also think that it's a nice sipping whiskey. It is, again, what I can appreciate about this is that you're going to have to enjoy the flavors because it is. I think it's cool to be able to have a whiskey even now, on my whatever, second and a half glass here is I still get that kind of journey, or I still get that, it's a little bit lighter at first. And then all of a sudden, like it still has that, it's not as apparent as the first couple sips, kind of like we were talking about with Eric Espinosa's asking those questions, but it still does transition on every sip. Yeah. It's a little more subtle. It's a little smoother and balanced, as far as that change on you. But to be able to have that drinking experience, if you enjoy the flavor of this, which I think we all kind of do, it's just, again, yes, it's 2 years. It's, a little bit lighter up front and it takes a big turn. But I do think that this is something that it's a unique bottle, which is also very good, under $40. I do want to throw it out there. I think with that, I would be really interested to see how this would go in a drink like a Manhattan, because I'd be interested to see if that would translate, that again, You take a sip of the Manhattan, you have a little bit of that lighter, a little bit that like, a little bit of that. And then as you set the glass down, all of a sudden that Manhattan kind of has a building moment, and it has a little bit of that peppercorn. It has a little bit of that coming out of it. I think that might actually be a pretty cool cocktail. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would give a little more depth to a typical Manhattan, Cigar, I'm going to give this cigar, I'll give it an 8. I like this cigar. I'm digging having the Aganorsa Leaf stuff back in my kind of rotation now that we brought it back in at the Tinderbox at Easton, who provided this cigar. So thank you very much, Tinderbox at Easton in Columbus, Ohio. Again, carrying a good portion of the Aganorsa Leaf cigar portfolio. So you can definitely check them out if you don't have a local brick and mortar, or if you are in the Columbus area, definitely check them out and check out what we've got over there. But this is something that I would agree with you. It's not quite what I remember. It's a quicker finish. I do enjoy the flavor of this. It does have some of those, as you smoke more cigars, you read the reviews, and I used to be real harsh on, the leather notes and I think this has a bit of that. It does have a little bit of the leather, the oaky side of it. So I think it goes well with, it would probably go well with even like some of the barrel proof stuff that we've had, the barrel proof bourbons, some of the Elijah Craig barrel picks that we've had. I think the cigar would pair up nicely with that.
You don't think like those 126, 127 proofs would overpower the cigar?
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay.
I don't think flavor wise, no.
I could potentially see this one going with that Neely family distillery that we just had, because that was 104.2.
Yeah.
I could potentially see this going with that one a little bit. I guess with those Elijah Craig picks that we've had, because we've had 3 of them now. It would depend on which one, because some of those have been a little sweeter, a little bit more caramel. Some of those have been a lot spicier, even though they're very, very close in proof. So I guess it would really depend on which of those barrel proofs.
I get what you're saying, but I think it would go well with that because of some of the flavor profile that it does have and the smoking experience. And again, with that retrohale kind of bringing out a little bit more of the flavors, including that pepper. And, Sean said that a little bit at first. And then when he really pushed more through the nose, he was like, oh shit, there it is. So I think it's partly how you smoke the cigar. The pairing, I'm going to stick with an 8 on the pairing. I think this is nice. Again, on, one of the first few, 30s, 40-degree days that we've had here, in Columbus, Ohio. This was a nice pick. I think it's got some warmth to it. It does have, again, some toastiness to the cigar flavor. You have a lot of these, but it's not overwhelming. It's not going to make you sweat. It's not going to really kind of like, give you that kind of Kentucky hug. We've had a couple, I think, in the last couple of months that you get a little bit of that Kentucky hug / like acid reflux. So I think this is one that, again, it's lightened up a little bit. It's bolder. It's not light. It's not mild on the pairing, but it's also not overly in your face. So that's why I'll give it an 8. I think it's a nice pairing. I enjoyed it. And, I could see myself doing it again. Well, and you had this pairing, but let's do both of those. That actually went pretty well together.
Well, and I also think that because even though this is a rye, because of the mash bill and how lighter of a whiskey it is, I think this is one that you could do when it's a warmer day. Like you could still drink this rye when it's a 70-degree day.
Mm-hmm. You could.
Me, I would drink this year round. So.
So I'm reading some of these comments here.
Ray Chester said he recently had that knuckle sandwich Maduro and just absolutely loved it. We saw the picture, and because you had mixed it up,
Punch got it.
Yeah, because you had mixed it up with the knuckle buster from Punch.
And you got some like, fake news, fake news comments in here. Ray doesn't see me drinking a Manhattan. Well, I do,
just not on the show. Although we have had cocktails on the show before.
We have. All right. With that being said, I do want to thank our sponsors as we round out part 1 here. You guys, patreon.com/Bourbon and BS podcast or Venmo for one-time contributions at Bourbon and BS on Venmo there. Appreciate all the support. You guys are amazing. It definitely helps us continue to expand the show. We're still looking at a set update here going forward into the winter. Might wait till spring, but we do have some funds from some of the people that have contributed. So we really appreciate that. We're sitting on that at the moment, trying to price things out. Just to see what would work best. It'd be definitely a totally different look to the show if we do that. So we might even put that out to the Bourbon and BS community page and see what you guys think of that. Also, a Tinderbox at Easton, I mentioned before, the Aganorsa Leaf portfolio. Part of it is in the Tinderbox at Easton. So check that out in Columbus, Ohio, or they do ship about once, twice a week. Get it out to you. Altadis USA, we've got, after this cigar, total switch of gears. The Reserva Real from Romeo y Julieta. Mild to medium cigar. So we'll see how that follows up as we go into part 2 here. And then BS Cigar Company, the gold and silver are available as well. Gold made by Plasencia and the silver's made by Espinosa. And if you're looking for any of that swag like Nate's got on, I've got the, this side, the BS hoodie in the Nicaragua blue and white. You've got the barrel head on the black camo, and you also have one of the podcast shirts in green, which was a charity shirt we did last year.
For St. Baldrick's.
Excuse me. Check that out. byjack.com/bourbon and BS for any of that. That's available. Print to order. They'll ship it straight to you. You can order right online. We appreciate the partnership with byjack.com. Guys, happy Whiskey Wednesday. We're going to do a quick intermission. If you're listening to the audio, click over to part 2. If you're listening live or you're watching the video, you can scrub forward. We'll do a quick intermission, kind of keep the stream going. And then we're going into part 2, kind of based off of something Nate suggested. So we'll see where that conversation goes with the memories or dreams is how I framed the comment that you had. And so we'll see where we go. So guys, happy Whiskey Wednesday. Hope you're enjoying fall. See you in part 2. Cheers.
Gotta try and do the clink with the bell of the glass.
A little more, resonating sound there. Seth, how's it? How's the? It's super exciting in a cold garage. Welcome to the neighborhood. So, quick backstory for those that are. It's kind of cool. Is so Seth and his wife and baby. Seth is kind of customer of the Tinderbox. He then became part of the Bourbon and BS community. And then I ran into your wife. Also works at Classics, where that bar sponsors the softball team I play at. So like the small world comes crashing down, and then he posts we're Facebook friends as well, and he posts a picture, and he's like, like super excited about, thanks to the realtor. One of those posts, I got a house, and he posts a picture of the listing on like Zillow or whatever, you know what I mean, the picture of it, and I'm like, is that in Tanner Woods? He's like, yeah. How do you know? I'm like, I drive by it every day. And so he moved in, what now, 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago. And so we were talking, and he's like, well, maybe I'll just come by. I'm like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're welcome.
Hey,
anytime.
we can get you in front of the camera right here, in the middle.
Rick Chester says stalker. Not the angle I was going. Thanks for framing it that way, Ray. But
he's not a stalker. He's
no,
a fan.
It's very cool. No, but it is nice to kind of have that. Sean is kind of the same way. We've known each other. And he's been a part of the show in one fashion or another too. It comes over pretty much every week, and it's really kind of cool how the whole community has expanded. And then, like I said, the circles will overlap at times, and then now. Seth's a neighbor, so
yeah,
pretty damn cool.
Yeah, it's also cool when you get. What you want another?
No, you mentioned coming on the second.
Yeah, you want to come on?
You guys okay with that?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do that. Rearrange the set here real quick. Move the camera maybe back a little bit. I do like also. Jonathan Henry says, "Ray, Steve was standing in his yard with a cigar and bottle. Could have been." Definitely could have been. It's the street over, so you tell. We're gonna move around here.
I can tell you this much. I walked here.
Yeah,
he could.
And it's a cheap Uber ride home if you need it.
Right.
Or just say, "Honey, come get
I
me."
need you to come pick me up.
Or hell, when I leave, I can just drop you off. I don't even have to stop the car. Just jump out.
Like and roll.
Yep. Steve, you want to grab an ashtray for yourself?
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm gonna steal Sean's seat
Do
away
it.
from the door.
Do it.
Yeah, good idea.
Thank you. Go ahead and sneak in there.
Yes, sir. This is my podcast hat.
Okay.
The chair's the same, or do you want this one in particular?
Take care.
Okay. Like the handrails.
Why Well, that arm's broken on mine.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah, you don't want to lift it up.
Can't wait to see the comments of our little sideshow. I should have put the screen blank.
It's okay. Coordinate. Gotta coordinate with hat. Coordinate.
Yeah, with it, and the other thing with this whiskey being as light as it is, we definitely don't need the water dropper.
That.
I'm usually not a huge Rye fan, but that's actually
Yeah.
pretty good Rye, actually.
So for a while there, I was not a big fan of Ryes, but then I started finding some that I really enjoyed, and so now, like if I see a good Rye out there, I'll absolutely pick it up and try it out. Because sometimes Ryes will tend to be a little spicy,
Right.
and that cinnamon or mint might be a little much for some people.
Right.
And there was about a month ago, I was sitting outside and I had the Russell's Reserve 6-year rye, it's only 90 proof, but it's still a 95.5 rye mash bill. And I was smoking it with the Espinosa Warhead 8, which is a fuller body, spicier cigar.
Okay.
It made that rye taste so sweet. It was a fantastic pairing. And I was like, if this is this good with this cigar, I'm going to go grab Monte Cristo 1935 Anniversary, which is another bolder, heavier cigar. And same thing. Like, it made that rye whiskey taste like butterscotch. It was so smooth, sweet, just a fantastic pairing. Jonathan Herring, Steve is wearing pants. I don't know what feed you were watching. Even Sean is wearing pants.
What I miss?
It's been a little cold this past couple days. It's just not. It's,
Seth, Kevin McVeigh? Yeah, so he just commented. He's like, yeah, my buddy Seth turned me on to the show. So thank you, Seth. Oh, you worked? All right. Thank you, Seth. Thank you, Kevin, for joining us.
That was old cockeyed there. That looks pretty good. Jonathan.
Jonathan, you probably have a memory of Steve not wearing pants.
What is? No, I don't think so. Maybe I don't remember it.
Bottoms more often than you know.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, you do.
It's a secret.
Sean, why don't you
Yes,
uh,
back to my hole.
bear with us? We're gonna reset the set one more time. Yeah, we'll see you later, Sean. Have a good night.
Sean, you have to stand out. You have to go sit outside the garage with your microphone.
Why don't you go finish it outside?
Come on. Oh man.
It's so cold, guys. Excuse me. Still trying to shake that last little bit from last week. Had one of the guys, he's been on the show before, DeSalin. It's been a while. He popped in the shop and he was just like, dude, your voice last week was like deeper than normal. And I was like, I was kind of under the weather.
Yeah.
And he's like, I was just like, what the fuck's going on?
Maybe I accidentally turned a knob wrong on the board.
No, it was
I
my
don't know.
voice. I think it was my voice for sure.
Oh, yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I know. I had joked with him because he had said that one day he was in the show. I was like, yeah. Someone made a comment about the way I sounded. And I was like, could be the weather, humidity, cold. It all affects the way sound comes through the mics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's why you can't just, set a soundboard and never touch it. Like, shit changes.
All right, you ready to roll here?
Yep.
Any other stellar comments here about pants and such?
Or lack thereof.
Okay. All right. Jesus. Welcome back to the Bourbon and BS podcast, everyone. This is episode 242, part 2, Beyond the BS. And we are still smoking the Aganorsa Leaf Maduro from part 1. We talked a bit about Aganorsa Leaf, where they are now, I also mentioned something to look forward to. I believe it's November 2nd. It's 2 weeks from now. We have Terrence Riley, whose technical title is VP of Sales and Marketing for Aganorsa Leaf.
Oh, cool.
But you learn a little bit more about where he came from. He came from another cigar company. Don't want to give away all the fun, but he's been with them since I think it's 2018 or so. He's been with them 2017, 18, and he has been a crucial part of rebranding their portfolio and really seeing, and it's astonishing. I don't know if it was shared on the show, but the growth that they've experienced since they've done that on their own brand, not necessarily the tobacco side, selling tobacco and all that stuff, but just on the Aganorsa Leaf portfolio. Huge growth. So he's had some great success with them. And we're going to have him joining us remotely in a couple weeks. So looking forward to that. Also have some other guests lined up. I think next week we'll do some sort of a Halloween show. So it might be some local, Sean or someone else, with us. We don't have a guest from outside the community, but we do have some people coming up. Someone that does I think a subscription service. We did one with Sam Lucia a while back. This is someone else that was turned on to the show by someone else that seems to be the trend here, right? Which is what we like. But he does something with the cigars. He's been in the industry for several years, but interested to see that. He sent us a couple packs. So that was really nice of him. And then we also have someone with Barrel Craft Spirits again, a new person that we haven't spoken with from the East Coast, New York area, I believe. And they're going to be talking with us. She'll be talking with us in 3 weeks, I believe, 4 weeks, excuse me, about the Barrel Bourbon Vantage.
Yes.
Which was recently released that they were so kind to send us. So I've been staring at that bottle, wanting to try it. We're going to hold off for about 3 or 4 weeks now. And then I think we also have Rob Wilson coming up on the show from Rocky Patel right before Thanksgiving. So we've got some great guests coming up going forward. So I hope you guys are looking forward to having some of those people. Some will be remote. Some will be in the garage. And we're looking forward to getting through this kind of period of Halloween, Thanksgiving, getting right into that holiday season. And hopefully we'll have some success leading into December. Feel like now that we have the ability to do remote guests in the colder months, more will be remote. Because being in the garage in the wintertime is a little different.
It's challenging.
It's different.
Yeah.
Yes.
We don't get too many of those Florida guys coming up for the show.
No, they don't travel up in the Midwest very often in January and February. I do want to mention from part one, we talked a bit more about it, but I can't go without saying thanks to all you guys that do the patreon.com/Bourbon and BS podcast. You guys are amazing. And we've had some great contributions from Venmo at Bourbon and BS is the call sign there. So we appreciate that. Buy us a bottle if you want. If you want us to review it, if you just want to throw us a few bucks, whatever it is, we appreciate all of it because we still do this as a kind of a hobby. But it's good to see the repeat listeners and people commenting on all this stuff and the feedback that we get from the show. So we appreciate that very much.
It's also great seeing new listeners too.
New listeners as well, which is where I will also mention, please share, like, review, whatever you listen to this on. We're on Facebook Live every week, YouTube Live every week. They stay available for you, but then also on the podcast apps as well. So however you listen to it, please tell people about it. Just share it to one person every week, and it's fun to see that.
It was kind of cool the other day. One of the other cigar groups that I'm in, someone had shared a video and asked a question about one of the bottles that we recently featured, and that was that Oak and Eden Bourbon Inspire one. And like they had asked a question about it, and I actually gave them an answer to it. And the person who asked the question, as well as one of the admins of the page, was like, "Hey, thanks for the information and being able to answer that question." I was like, "Yeah, we talked about it. Here's the episode." It was like, "Hey, here's episode 237. Here's a link to it on YouTube." Like, and they're like, "Oh, cool. Hopefully, you can do some more reviews on stuff on this page." I'm like, "We do it every Wednesday, so get ready." Absolutely.
That's cool.
If you ever have any suggestions about cigars or bourbon or any spirit really to review, happy to take that in consideration. And also topics, that's where we get into this part. But I also want to thank for the Aganorsa Leaf Maduro was Tinderbox at Easton, Columbus, Ohio. We've got the Romeo y Julieta Reserva Real on deck. Thanks to Altadis USA. And I just saw on your phone that Josh Bentley, who was kind of the big guy behind all that. We appreciate his support. We don't see him quite as often now that he got a promotion within Altadis, but still with the company. Good friend of the show. We appreciate his support. He was just on actually with his father-in-law remotely not too long ago.
Yeah.
It was in the last couple weeks, actually, a few weeks. So good to see him on. And Be a Cigar Company, gold and silver are available as well. Any of the swag that you see that we wear on the show, or you just want to check it out, buy Jack. That's byjack.com/bourbon&bs, and you guys can get our swag. And that also can, obviously contributes to the show, supports it, and you guys look great in it. So appreciate that. Topic tonight, this is where we get into a little bit different than most cigar podcasts, bourbon podcasts, and this is kind of what you do at the end of the evening, or as you get into a bottle, as you get into a cigar, and you're sitting around with your buddies or people you just met, and you start talking about life. And this is tonight. The topic is framed as such. It is memories or dreams. And this was something, and I appreciate, Nate, he and I spoke recently, and it was something that, like, I got to be honest, like doing 240 plus episodes to come up with, cigars and whiskeys, and then also guests, and then obviously the topic part of it, it becomes challenging. The well goes dry a little bit. And so Nate's, threw over some ideas, and this is where one of those came from.
And it also was inspired by someone in the community.
Okay.
One of their posts that they had made on the community page. It was worded a little bit different. Okay. But yeah, and we kind of just stripped it down to memories or dreams. Didn't want to.
Yeah, I mean, the comment that or not the comment, but the topic that you kind of framed it initially was, do you want to? Would you rather die with memories or dreams?
I think the way they are.
So it's kind of like one of those things is kind of how it was. And I didn't want to put on the screen, die with memories or dreams. I feel like that was a little bit, the conversation would go there, but I don't want to necessarily like, hey, let's talk about death tonight. You know what I mean? Well, but I will say that someone else in the community did have a comment about talking about loss. So we'll do that coming up as a part 2 coming up here.
The way that member of the community page actually phrased it, wasn't even a question. It was more of a statement, like advising people to die with memories and not dreams.
Okay.
That's how they had originally phrased it. We just kind of stripped it down, like you said. Let's not put the D word out there. Yeah,
and I kind of put it in the description for you guys that see the description out there is, are you creating memories or dreams more? As we live our day-to-day, it seems as though we are always creating memories, obviously, and we also have the tendency to dream about what is to come. Yet how do you guys reach those dreams? Talk this week really about the balance of memories and dreams and what is more important, if there is something more important. So kind of frame it as that, and we can kind of get into this. I'll take this up so I can see the comments if you guys have any. And Ray, you gave a great topic for this week, and I just mentioned it. We'll talk about that going forward, which is dealing with loss, which is going to be a heavy one. So we'll have to go with a low proof whiskey. Yeah. You get your initial pour. It can be as big as you want. It can be in a pint glass. I don't care, but like that's all you. So you can't get refilled. No, you can't. You're already crying. But dealing with this, memories or loss, talking about that, and Nate, you might have thought about this a little bit. Sean, this is new to you, which I always love that raw reaction to this, when you deal with that. But first I'll say is that I don't think there's anything wrong really kind of appreciating both memories or dreams. Right. Obviously, if all you're doing is creating memories, then you're living in the moment type mentality, possibly. But I think there also can be some planning in there, and that's where the dreams come in. Yeah. But I also think that sometimes it's about those actions that you take. So yeah, you can sit, and I'll kind of kick it over to you guys and the audience, but you can kind of sit in a kind of this level of just this standstill where you have dreams, or wouldn't it be nice type dreams, or I want to someday do this, I want to, I wouldn't it be great, or I really hope one day I get to go here or do this or work at this type of career, meet this type of person. But while you're doing that, you're just going through your day-to-day with really little motivation or enthusiasm or appreciation. And therefore you have dreams, but you're not really making memories, but you're not really chasing those dreams. You know what I mean? Like that's, in my opinion, possibly that purgatory of just living your everyday life. It's just like, you're not really doing anything. So I think I'll kind of throw it to you guys, like, everything I said about, memories or dreams, or also, like what I just said there. But I mean, I think that's kind of that balance that you struggle with at times.
I think at times too, like if you look back at memories, maybe you had a dream that you wanted to do something and it was actually fulfilled. So I think that is also another way of looking at it, to see how, if you've done that, then that you're capable of doing it down the road. It's just, if you look back and say, well, I remember when I had a dream about doing this and I did it. Okay, what did I do to obtain that dream? What did I do? How did I prepare? What was my mindset? And sometimes that can help propel you into the future with what you may want to do that's coming up, so you don't fall into that purgatory kind of setting. So, but I understand. I mean, especially like if you're at work and there's a lull and at work and you're just kind of sitting there getting lost, and it'd be nice to be doing something or something. Man, I've always wanted to do this or always wanted to do that. And that can go down a rabbit hole pretty quick too. So,
well, I mean, we've had those discussions before of, there are people out there that we see some of the lives that they lead, or at least the ones that they portray to lead on social media and stuff like that. And we're like, man, it'd be nice to do that. Like, it'd be nice to travel to all these places and stuff like that. But then, reality sets in, and, you don't have the resources to be able to do that. So if that is something that you actually want to do, what steps do you need to take to be able to get there? So you're not going to necessarily going to be doing those things right away, but you can at least sit there and go, okay, if I want to be able to travel to this place, what do I need to do? And take the step, maybe you pick up a part-time job just to pick up some extra money to be able to save for that adventure. Or, if you want to buy a nicer car, maybe you do something, you have a garage sale or sell a kid or whatever.
Like your kid or just a kid?
Yeah, just pick one off. No,
I won't even answer that.
Good answer, Sean.
Yeah.
Nate?
Where's that mute button? Hold on.
Yeah, someone get
I
that.
almost forgot to unmute your mic, so don't tempt me. But no, like, I mean, people that know me know that I work a lot. I work 2 jobs. I work 7 days a week. Plus I do the podcast on top of it. And so there are some people that are like, man, when do you take a vacation? It's like, my last vacation was, a couple years ago. I take days off. But the last day I took off was to work. So,
well, let me ask you this. What is a dream that you like to have? What's something you want to do that you would like to do?
Well, I mean,
given your situation, it's going to be difficult, but
yeah,
how do you make it work?
Well, my dreams are a little bit more grounded, for us, at least. I mean, to be able to,
you say us,
me and my wife, to be able to buy a house, and, be able to live the kind of lifestyle that we want to. We know we can't necessarily do that right now, but we can work towards that goal. So it's kind of a delayed gratification. Sure. So
but to the question though, what is that?
Or do you even have?
You're. I'm not saying
I don't
this
plan
in a
on
negative way. I'm not trying to pick but it's like, when you look at it, like you just comment, you're living a life now, right? And you're just like, you're living a more grounded, dream life, right? It's nothing extravagant, but what does that look like? You know what I mean? Like in that sense, I guess, Sean, I'm building off the question is like, what do you dream? Like,
what does the grounded life look like?
No, like that dream of owning a house. Like what is that exactly? What are you looking for?
Oh, I don't know.
When is that? Was there a plan?
I know what you're doing. You want to go to Montana and build around.
So I've always joked around.
You got a lot of work to do.
I always joked around that if I ever won the Mega Millions, which I don't play, but if I ever won the Mega Millions, like
step 1 to follow your dreams. Get in the fucking game.
Yeah, gamble, right?
No.
But no, like I always used to joke around. If I ever won the Mega Millions, you guys would probably never see me again because I'd just buy a house with some land in Montana and just live out there. It was funny. A couple of years ago, there was a customer that came into the tinderbox, and he had mentioned that he was from Montana, but he currently lives in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, Montana, I'd love to live out there, even though the winters suck worse than in Ohio. Still with the country and everything out there in the woods, like it'd be awesome to live out there. And he pulls up a picture on his phone where it's his kids in the foreground, and then you just see miles and miles of acreage and then a mountain range in the background. He goes, yeah, my dad owns from where we're standing all the way to those mountain ranges. And he owns like 300 head of cattle. And when he retires, that's going to be my retirement job, is to take over the family business. And I was like, well, what the hell are you doing right now? He's an anesthesiologist. So he's doing well for himself.
He is. But I mean, I guess that's something there. I mean, going back, like I want to go back to the whole thing about you owning a house and like what your dream looks like, to Sean's initial question. But I think there's sometimes, yes, you might have a dream that, talk about Montana and I want to win the lottery, and like then basically have someone hand that
Those
to
are just
you.
fun. But yeah,
it is fun. But I mean, if you wanted to go out to Montana, you could.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be necessarily the owner of the land, but you could go out there if you wanted to do that. If that is a dream of yours, it could just be how you frame that dream.
Yeah.
Do you go out there and you work from the bottom up like you do with a lot of things? Do you make that move with your whatever it might be, right? And you go out there and you say, I want to be a ranch hand, or I want to do all this stuff. Just so I don't know if you want to, but again, with your wife being good with animals and horses and all.
Oh, she wants to rotationally graze.
That's
cattle.
taking the step, is I guess my point there.
Yeah, but I mean, like our plan is, we live and work the lifestyles that we do now, so that way we can afford the opportunity later in life to live and work the way we want to.
Okay.
So, there are some short-term sacrifices to be able to do that later on. Because if we just sit there and, every few months, we take some extravagant vacation, we're not really saving up towards those other goals that are down the line. We're making memories now, but it could be sacrificing some of those dreams later. So we're kind of the other way. Like, we'll sacrifice doing the really big memories now, so that way we can make great memories later down the line.
If you make it.
And that's the 50-50 of it. Yeah. Shit happens.
That's that balance, right?
Yeah.
That is, like, I think part of this conversation is that if all you're doing is you're sacrificing. That's not, again, Nate. I mean, Sean, you asked the question, so I'm not trying to come down on Nate, but I think that's a great example, because I think Nate's living a great life. He's got a great wife. They just moved into a new place. And it's always it's a very positive thing. You guys are both working good jobs, and like you said, you work a lot. But do you how many of the memories do you sacrifice so that the dream can down the line, you know what I mean? Like when you're 20 years old, like that, the dreams are something out there, and you change what's important. When you're a kid growing up, and you have you have the car poster, you have your supermodel poster, as I'm talking from a guy perspective, but I mean everyone's got that, right? Like whatever like the dreams are at the time. Yeah, it'd be cool as we get older. Like, yeah, I'd still love a really expensive sports car. Well, my life didn't take that I didn't get to that point. So now your dreams change a little bit. But does that balancing act, does it change from you're making memories now to a point that you're enjoying that life, right? To the point that the dreams, yes, you're building towards those dreams, but if all you're doing is sacrificing the memories, so the dreams are out here, and you have this long-term plan, it's like, when I get older, I want to do that. There's like, people in their 50s that are still saying, 60s that are still saying that. And it's like, well, that's great. It's like that. I guess the simplest way to say it is that you look at the story of people, and I've known some, and you hear people, everyone seems to know someone either directly or they've heard that story where it's like, yeah, they worked their ass off for 30 plus years. They retired at like whatever it is at the time, 60 some years old. And then as soon as they retired, and they were going to they had retirement and all that stuff, and they died 2 years later. And it's like, well, hopefully you made some memories at that point. You know what I mean? Like that's the balancing act there. Yeah, you may not go on the extravagant, but let's blow our savings to do like 4 trips a year, and we might lose our jobs because I ran out of vacation time, but I'm making memories. I'm that type of person. I'm going to take pictures and blah, blah, blah. But then you have nothing to show for it. Now your dreams are still out there, but they're never attainable because of how you're living your life. Well, how do you keep that balance?
I think what's important is while you're still chasing some of those dreams, which my wife says dreams are a wish without a plan.
That's a good way of looking at it.
But
they can also be goals though, with a plan.
There's a little bit. Yeah,
I think that's a mindset, Jess, and I think that I think that is not a right definition, but I think that is. You can say what she said, or you can say the other aspect of it is like, yeah, it's a dream, it's a goal, but I need to come up with a plan.
Well, I think what's important is while you can
only go so long in the audience with one to say something.
While you're in the now and living in the moment, there are still opportunities to make memories. Like you can still make memories within the constraints of living the lifestyle that you are, and trying to attain those goals or those dreams. But you can't just sit there and coast by and do the mundane day in and day out, because that's going to be just more of a miserable lifestyle in hopes of chasing those dreams. You still have to do something and find ways to make memories now. And you can do that. You just sometimes have to think outside the box to be able to do that.
Well, I also think there's big dreams and, almost illusions of grandeur where maybe that's not possible. Then there's small, like Ray brought up earlier. You don't have to reach for the stars for it to be a dream. So there can be a lot of attainable dreams that you can easily get to. That's more realistic than some like what Ray would say about reach for the stars. So I think sometimes we reach more dreams than we probably, or goals, or however you want to put it, than we think about. It's like I brought it before. I was working in aviation. I lost my job. I went to Amazon, and I was like, one day I want to get back in the industry and make more money than I ever have and be happy. And I've attained that. And, I put my head down and just kept working, but it was a realistic goal. So I think there's a lot of depth when it comes to the topic, because, when I was like in my late 20s, early 30s, and I was playing golf every day and shooting almost scratch golf, I was like, I could go play on the tour. And then I realized, like, no, you can't. You got to be shooting like 8 under on an average, And I'm like, okay, well, that ain't gonna fucking work. But it's like, all right, take a step back, change the dream to just try to get out and play and enjoy yourself, or find opportunities to go on a golf trip, or, you just kind of almost downshift into something that's a little more attainable. And then that way you're creating memories as you're, like you said, as you're building towards that, to get to that goal.
Yeah. And I like what you said about, recognizing, the things that you have done. Like for you, you have a house, you're married, you adopted a kid.
Yeah, that was a big dream.
There you go.
Fucking dream.
Yeah. And you accomplished that stuff. And, so I think sometimes, there are a lot of people that take some of those things for granted, because those are the types, having a house, being married, having a kid, like those are the things that some people look at as, oh, that's just what you do.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's easier said than done, though.
It's easier said than done. Like it can be a dream. Seth, what you got?
Well, for me personally, like I know when I was younger, some of the dreams I had, obviously, once you hit that 30-year-old mark, for me is when all my dreams kind of changed, and like
changed how?
Just wanting more adult things in life, wanting that family, wanting the little ones running around and stuff like that, wanting to own my own house. So it was finding somebody that shared the same dreams that I did in a way. So, and now I'm 36 years old. I've got a 2-year-old kid. For me now, it's more about making memories for him and switching up some of my dreams. I still have the dreams of things that I wanted then, but having him has changed that in a big way, because it's more about making memories for him. Yeah. And obviously that turns to memories for us too. So
it changes the perspective of what's important.
Absolutely.
I think that's what I was saying, when you're a kid, you have certain dreams, like you want to, maybe Sean a little bit later in life, it's like wants to be a pro golfer, but I mean, like, I feel like a lot of kids want to be like a, professional, whatever, you know what I mean? Like athlete or whatever.
Astronaut.
Yeah, exactly. And I think as you get older in different phases of life, and also different experiences, the failures that you experience and some of the successes that you experience, I think that does change what is important. And I think that is something that changes your perspective on what dreams. And I like what Seth said there is that it was, his dreams in a sense, or goals, is where I think that it can change that. When what Jess brought up, to you about that, is that dreams can be goals. Now you're maybe more grounded or more realistic goals of what you were talking about, Nate, as well. Owning a house and stuff like that other people take for granted as checklist items. But now I like the way that he framed that, is that one of the dream is basically to create memories for his child and children. If you know what I mean, and the family, it's to create those memories. So I look at creating memories partially as not always, but more short-term goals, right? These are short-term goals that you want to create these memories and experience it. It is, I think, that lifestyle, it has been bastardized with, the social media stuff of just hey, look, everyone, I'm on the beach, or hey, look, everyone, I'm people were taking pictures of themselves by other people's material possessions. And it's those aren't memories. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The memories are you obtaining the dreams, but it can be creating memories is a bit more short term. And it doesn't have to be spending a ton of money or jet setting around the world or buying a big thing. Those are memories, but it is, again, what are you sacrificing to do that? And sometimes I think you might sacrifice some of the bigger goals or dreams of say, Seth, congratulations on buying a house. You just did, we talked about that in the mission. And it was something that it's that is to what Nate was saying too, that became more recently a dream of yours. It's not necessarily, might feel like it right now because, again, of that kind of rationale and what's important. It may not be your dream house as you're growing up. You know what I mean? You can turn on TV, watch a show, and it's man, this is 3 cars, 5 cars. They're driving around these expensive cars, living on the ocean and all stuff. That is a dream. And to some people, they look at that as something that is attainable, and they do succeed at that. It's not always just, that person had great luck or had a rich, set of parents or whatever it is. Sometimes those the entrepreneur stuff, there are legit ones out there. Yeah. But your dream home right now, I'm not going to put words in your mouth. What you just moved into feels like a dream. I would venture to guess, I'd put money on it, that you literally wake up and when you first moved furniture and then you're looking around, we can do this, we can do this. But the fact that you moved in, this is your, at least right now, dream home / you've just created a gigantic memory for you and your family. And I think this is also very important to look at, is that you can have the short-term goals that used to be long-term goals. And it's all about, again, how do you get there? And you can appreciate the moment you're in with still the mindset of having the next step in line. But I think it's too common that a lot of people will just look at the next step and not have the moment, or take the moment to appreciate the memory you just created and live in your previous dream, right? What you just created, this memory of moving into your first home with your family, young family, is a current memory in the making and a previous dream that you're now living in your dream life for the moment. And I think that's also a frame of mind that sometimes people, a lot of times people will lose focus on the fact that it's I need to appreciate the fact that I hit this, I made it to my dream moment. Again, you didn't just buy your first house necessarily, and it's a $2 million house that's, sprawling with, you have your housekeepers and what you see that
tennis court,
the wouldn't it be nice mentality. But it used to be, wouldn't it be nice to own our own place and have our own family? And like you said, you found someone that you can do that with. And I think that's nothing that you can just kind of breeze over. I think that is super impactful, that you can have that mentality. Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
I think kind of going off of that is also when you have those times where you feel like you're in that purgatory or whatever you called it earlier, Steve, is that when you have that time to think about, dreams or whatever, it's take that moment to look back at the dreams you've accomplished kind of and reflect, and I too live in the neighborhood. I live down on Dolomite, but we've been there for over 20 years. And, if you look at our backyard, it sloped into the woods. It was just like this big steep hill. What over the years we've put a retaining wall in, made a patio out of it. And then we've put like a double deck on the back. And then the upper deck is now in Florida room, and didn't happen overnight, happened over 20-year process. But, those were small little dreams to improve the quality of our house. And now it's like I come back there and I do my best not to take it for granted, because, I have people over all the time. We always have get-togethers. We watch movies on the big screen with projectors or whatever, watch football games. And
Copycat.
And what's that?
I said copycat.
Yes.
The projector. Yeah.
Inspired.
Yes. Thanks to Steve. He inspired me. It's all about Stevie. Thank you.
All right. I'm just giving you shit. I think it looks great.
No, I'm kidding.
Mine's indoors in a sense.
Yeah, mine's an outdoor. Mine's a little more adventurous, but that's okay. So. Well,
like what you said, that's something.
Let him finish.
No, I'm just gonna say I'd really like, even just for a brief moment, if I ever go out there now, or I have lately, is I just kind of take it all in, because now, we backed up to the woods. I went out there today to let the dogs out, and just now the leaves back there are all just booming with colors. And then within a few months or a month or two from now, those will be gone and the snow will start to come. And then the spring comes around, it starts to bloom and everything starts to fill in. And it's cool to watch all that progress. And you got the animals, and it's like, I just try to take all that in and be grateful. And that's just more added bonus to the dream that we were pursuing.
But like you said, you didn't do that stuff to your house right away.
Right.
So
years.
So yeah. So
and savings.
Yeah. Well, so sometimes those good things that we strive for in our personal life, they're worth working for.
Yes.
Because, how long ago did you put that back deck or that Florida room on your house? It was fairly recent.
Yeah,
I redid it. Like during COVID, you redid all that kind of stuff. And
it was like 2019 or
did it in phases though too.
Yeah. But like you said, when you go out there now, like you sit back and you appreciate like the work that you put into it. I think if that was one of those things where if you maybe have moved into that house and it already had that stuff, you may not have appreciated it quite to the same level that you do now.
Yep, I agree.
Because you look at that stuff that you've done as an accomplishment.
Yep.
May not necessarily be one of those checklist items. It was something you worked towards, and it was worth working for, and it was worth having the patience to be able to do it. So that way now you can actually enjoy that space with your family. There's
no right steps to it. I mean, I can appreciate what you're saying, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but at the same time, it is nice to be able to, and it's, for example, I think I'm going back to Seth here, is that, the fact that, you might expand things you want to do to the house, but also
I've got ideas, brother. Exterior illumination.
But the house he moved in has a nice deck and all that stuff. And so I think, again, the mentality that you're saying, the steps that brought you to that, I agree. What Sean has done with his home, it's fantastic, and it took a lot of savings, a lot of hard work, and everything else that went into that they can appreciate. But I think it's also, I don't want to just necessarily negate the fact that you can buy a house that's move-in ready, and it's kind of, again, maybe not your end all be all, maybe even unattainable dream house, but it is something like, I want like the checklist, you know what I mean? I want to have this many bathrooms. I want to have the kitchen to be, stainless supply, like the typical stuff anymore. I want to have granite tops. I want to have, the nice shower. I want to have, I want a deck. And it's like, if you move into that, and you can appreciate that too. You know what I mean? So like, as you and Jess look for houses as well in your future, there's something to be said about the fixer uppers and stuff like that, if you have that knack. But I will say also, if you move into a move-in ready house, that can be a dream that's attainable that you can do as well.
Well, and I think
I'm not saying you were wrong with what you're saying. I don't want you to take it that way.
One of the other big differences between me and my wife when it comes to houses, and this was more so years ago when we were actually looking at houses a little bit more. Like I was one of those, and this is kind of because of my parents and the way they went through life. like I was okay with, all right, we can afford this type of house, you know, we can buy this kind of house, we can live there, raise a family, you know, as we get older, you know, maybe we sell that house and move into a different home that's more of what we want. And so, like, you know, just kind of working your way towards that. Whereas my wife is more of, no, I want the house we buy to be the end all be all. Like, that's it. That's the
Dream
only
home.
house. Yeah, the dream home. Like, that's it. We're moving into that house, and that's the only one we're ever going to have. It's like, we may have to wait a little bit more to be able to to get to that point.
The steps there, right? I mean, it's
bigger
one of those
dream.
things. Like, there's again, there's no right path for everything. You know what I mean? You can do that either way, right? You guys are kind of saying the same thing. I feel like, Nate, you and Jess, you're saying the same thing, that you want to get to that final house, if you will, right? But it's about like the steps. What is that kind of the framework look like?
Yeah.
Financially, you guys are very financially, savvy people. So it's like, okay, do we rent to get to that point and save while we're renting, or do we buy something and live in something that we're happy with while getting equity, getting value, and getting that kind of return? Hopefully so if we live in a rental place type for 10 years, the traditional way is like, well, we didn't save as much as if we would have paid that same amount for a home that we live in. Granted, all it takes is a recession, a housing boom or bust, all that stuff. So it's like, again, you can have all the stepping stones laid out, and then all of a sudden all it takes is outside threats to be basically like, yeah, that was great. That's a great plan. However,
someone else is going to fuck it up.
It's all done. It's all done.
The one thing I wanted to say too was, when you have, what we did at our backyard and our patio and our deck, I think what the dream of as we progressed is for us to enjoy it, but it's also for us to create the memories, to host people, to bring people over. We just had a bunch of new families just move in across the street in a court, and there's probably at least 12 to 13 kids that are all between 2 and 7 years old. So we thought on last Friday, we had them all over on the patio, put a screen, the projector, and put like a kid's cartoon movie, had the adults over on the upper part of the deck. We drank and hung out, and the kids all cuddled up and watched movies. Like, that's the kind of shit that we really enjoy, because we're giving other people an opportunity to enjoy it with us.
I love that.
So it was really cool, because there's other families that know each other. Now everybody knows each other. So it was a way to bring everyone together. And then now we're like that much more closer. The other thing too, that I was going to bring up real quick, and Seth, you can relate to this. You just had a baby?
2 years.
2 year. Okay. So we adopted our child from China. Molly was 16 months when we adopted her. Now they're 14 and a half.
16 months, 16 pounds.
Yeah. I know, 16 months, 14 pounds, but we'll talk about that later. But it was, but when that was a huge dream and a huge goal. So it was a lot of work. I mean, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of money, a lot of just red tape and hoops to jump through. But once we got that dream of bringing Molly home, then we started looking about dreams that we look forward to, that were going to happen. But it was all about creating memories. So it's a dream to create a memory. So like, Molly was little. I can't wait till Molly's 5 and they're going to be able to start riding their bike or whatever the age is. And okay, when they get to 10, they're going to be doing this. So like, you're going to start, you probably have already seen already, like, I can't wait for my first kids, baseball or whatever you guys want to do, and have friends over. They're going to have their little friends over riding bikes and, in the driveway. It's like those little small things, man. I've seen it, like, look forward to it. And then I finally see it come to fruition. It's a simple dream. It's one of the coolest ones to obtain and to watch and to create that memory.
That should be a Hallmark slogan that you just came up with. It's a dream to create a memory.
Probably is. I mean,
that's a good Hallmark slogan.
Probably like a dog
BS
on the
t-shirt.
front of it, yeah. Oh yeah. Did you write that down?
I did write that
there
down.
You go.
So to kind of touch on that, my wife and I, when we were talking about when she was pregnant, we were touching on the subject of like, we're going to try to stay away from the whole, I can't wait till he's this age, or I can't wait till they're this age. But it's so hard not to
Sure.
dream them at that age and to see what they will aspire to be or aspire to do. And it's just, but it's fun to live in that moment.
Yeah.
The memories of, and not look at, well, I can't wait till, but it's a blast. I
There's two. There's. I want to go ahead, John.
I was going to say, that being said, having kids, enjoy every single freaking minute, man, because it goes by quick. I remember it didn't seem, and Facebook memories destroy me because I look back when Molly was so little, and it's like it seemed like it just happened. And now they don't want to even talk to me because they're a teenager and they think I'm a dick now for some reason.
Well, you're getting old too.
Yeah. I guess I'm kind of a dick too. Anyway.
And you are kind of a dick. Well, no, I was going to mention two songs. You know, the if you guys are country music fans, and I don't know, like the song about "You're Gonna Miss This."
Yes.
If you know that song, you're gonna miss this. And it's all about those memories and someone saying, you know, like you're gonna miss this moment. You know, you're gonna miss it when it's gone. And then there's also, and this is something that we can maybe transition. And there's a lot of good comments I want to get to, but this conversation is really good too. So guys, we are listening, looking at your comments. I appreciate that. But also the "Live Like You're Dying" song by Tim McGraw.
I knew you were going to go there.
Drink.
That hits a whole.
It's not a rule. I feel like you're just making up rules to, like you just want to drink. You can drink if you want. I mean, like it's not a rule.
John drink.
John
Herring drink.
That song hits a whole different level.
Which
nowadays.
one?
Is the "Live Like You Were Dying"?
Live Like You Were Dying.
Yeah, it's
the
why not? Why wouldn't you? You know what I mean? And to touch on the Facebook memories, my little boy just turned 2.
Oh,
and it just seemed like, I mean, Friday was his birthday, so we start getting Facebook memories of bringing him home from the hospital. And
what's your son's name?
Elliot.
Elliot.
Yeah, and it just, you see pictures, and it's like, I can't believe that was 2 years ago already. It just seemed like we were just bringing him home from the hospital.
Yeah.
Well, I remember when my sister turned 30, which was a while ago, when my dad called her the night before she turned 30, and he's like, "Yeah, I just want to talk to my daughter the last night of your 20s." She goes, "That's all right. I'll call you in a couple months, the last night of your 40s." And he's like, "You know what? Doesn't scare me that I'm going to be turning 50. It scares me and my daughter's turning 30." And my dad tells me that story, and I was like, "Yeah, so imagine in 6 years when I turn 30. He's like, "Damn it, why'd you say it?" My sister's 6 years older than me, and you know, here I am, you know, a year away from turning 40. But you know, I kind of like what Seth had said earlier about making the memories for your kid. That was something I didn't realize until I got older in life. When I was younger, there were some things that my dad and I would do that I didn't quite appreciate at that time, because they were either things I didn't really enjoy doing. They weren't my thing. They were more his thing. You know, whether it was, you know, when we would go to Kentucky and go fishing, I'm like, yeah, I'd rather go hunting than fishing. But I look at when I got older, like that was more of my dad having a chance to spend time with me when things were quiet. You know, there wasn't a lot of, you know, hustle and bustle going on. You know, we're just on the boat, on the lake, trolling around in the coves and stuff like that. Like everything's peaceful, and it's just more about, you know, spending the time together and making those memories that at the time I did not appreciate, because at the time as a kid, I'm just like, oh, this isn't what I want to do. But my dad wanted to spend time with me, and that was a way to do it.
You don't necessarily appreciate it while it's happening.
And those also made memories for him as well. And I didn't necessarily realize that. Like he's not just doing this for him. He's doing it for me, but it also benefits him at the same time, because those are things he's going to keep with him.
So I'm going to bring up a couple things. And so Justin Turner, he was the listener that he found the show, and just really very interesting. It was really a cool comment. It was over a month ago now, I think.
Yeah.
And I apologies to Justin. I mentioned you, but I didn't remember which name it was when we were doing the show. So I don't know if you listened to that one or not, but just he's really enjoyed the part 2 of this show, which I can appreciate. But it's interesting because, he commented at one point, he said, the older I get, the less I dream of big houses and nice cars, and more I want my family to be healthy, and I want to pay for my daughter's college and such. And, you had Ray out there saying, let me see if I can bring this one up here. He was talking about similar things about material possessions. Oh, there you go. I don't think houses and cars should be dreams, goals perhaps, but they're kind of hollow dreams. I think it goes back to the frame of mind that you're in with the balance of dreams and memories.
I think maybe utilize those things, like utilize the house and the car to make memories.
No, I can appreciate that I can appreciate what you said there, Nate, but I can also look at it from a different sense, is that sometimes the material possessions can be a motivator. Having that is that kind of more of a hollow dream, or how did Jess say it? It's having a wish. It was more of a wish, right? So you want to have the nice car, you want to have the nice house, or you just want to have a car or a house, whatever it might be, whatever your viewpoint is. But I think it's also, what does it take to get to that point so that those dreams become a great memory? It's not that it's like I'm living out of my car, but I was able to buy that fancy sports car, which I'm now living out of. I mean, I'm not saying it's just that. It's the fact that you are able to, you've built a life. Seriously? Putting on gloves? Man, you are not going to last through the winter this year.
I was like, oh,
I'll make it.
But
Jesus.
but I think that's a big part of it is that when you come up that your dream is to be able to sustain a life, possibly an income, or having a partner that you've been able to build a life together, that you are now like it's the stepping stones, the building blocks. You know what I mean? It's like you like, I'm not trying to push just on Seth's thing, but I mean, he's had some big things happening in the recent years. Not all of us have, right? But it's like the fact that you've hit those milestones, that you want to own a house, you want to own a car, or you want to have a car that's paid off, or whatever it might be. It's not necessarily just getting that car that you're able to drive, or these hollow dreams. It can still be a balance of also like, I want to be able to, now it's not that. I mean, you look at what Justin said, right? It's not necessarily big houses, nice cars. I want to pay for my daughter's college and such. Justin, I don't know how old your daughter is, but there was a time that what you're going to be paying for your daughter's college would have bought you your dream house and your dream car, most likely, the way that it's going up. So again, I'm looking at it as, it's not necessarily those goals, but it's that mindset of that. How do I work to get to that point that I can financially, or I can be in a stable lifestyle with a partner on my own, or whatever it might be, to get to the point that I can afford to do it. It's not necessarily just about making that purchase or buying whatever it might, like the hollow dreams that Ray kind of called them. It's the fact that you are at that point that, based on where your life is, you are able to do what you're able to do. Buying your dream car in a certain regard is the same as being able to pay for your daughter's college, or in this case, Seth, your son's college. If that is still something that when they turn 18, they want to go to college, and you want to be able to help them and be able to afford that. That at that point, who knows what's going to happen with the education system in the next 16 years, 2 decades, is the fact that it's like you might be spending more on that college than you would have on your dream house or your dream car. You think about what the average college is right now, it's 6 figures. You can get a fucking nice car for 6 figures. And I bet you would have had a poster of that car, that Lamborghini Countach on your fucking wall is the same thing that you're paying for your daughter or son's college. So again, I'm looking at it as like, you can still have that mindset, but as life comes at you and the importance of what is important, what that factor is, that changes. The steps towards that still resemble much the same. You want to be able to write that check. You want to be able to show up in that car, or have visitors over to that dream house, or you want to be able to be like, yeah, look at my daughter, look at my son. They just graduated from that. And I'm not embarrassed to say they have zero debt because I was able to do that. You know,
Hopefully they get a scholarship.
that also helps. Or you win the lottery. Well, I mean, whatever it might be. You get your house in Montana because whatever it might be.
I want to comment on Ray's just latest comment. He wrote, "Fuck the dream, focus on the now, give now your all." All you got, most of you guys know, I had a lot of health issues in the past, brain tumor and then heart thing. And when those things happen, the dreams changed dramatically. There was no, boy, I like to have this or like to do that. It was the fucking now. It was right then and there.
That heart issue happened while you were on your way to vacation.
Right. So, so my dream was just to get to a hospital that day. That was my fucking dream without dying. That was like kind of like my big dream that day.
That's an action item list.
That's to do.
Instead of live like you were dying. I fucking am.
Yeah.
Like,
I believe we played that song on the way too. I'm like, this is not good.
That's I mean,
but anyway, I guess my point is that there are going to be times in your life where, things you're coasting along and you want to have the dreams that we discussed. But when you get in a situation, whether it's you or someone you love, has some kind of a health scare or something really, earth shattering that just brings you to your core. It's interesting how your mind shifts to living in that moment and just focusing on, this is all that matters right now is me surviving. And I think that helped me too, Ray, because I brought this up too. I used a lot of examples of what I talked about the mental health issues I had early this year. That was a big dream or a big goal or a big focus, was to stay in the now, because to try to look back or look forward when you're in a depressive state can be really detrimental to you. So I think that I like that, what he said, because sometimes being in that moment is all you need. And that may be the most important thing you need to focus on. So that's all.
I think you're absolutely right. It was, you guys might think this is silly, but one of the movies that we were about to start, and I know we did start, was Good Will Hunting.
Mm-hmm.
Southie. I was to Jonathan's point earlier about sometimes on the podcast is, I had started it too. Hey, we got more lighters.
Yeah, we got a lot of lighters.
We got butane as well if you need it there. So, but one of the scenes. So Kristen and I went back and we were finishing Good Will Hunting. I haven't seen it in a long time. I don't know if you guys have watched it recently. Yes,
I was until you shift to the Southie lessons on YouTube, and then
I'd been drinking. I've been drinking, Sean.
That was hysterical.
Oh yeah, he got so distracted so many times.
Yeah, I was drinking Jameson. It was a Southie movie marathon. What do you want?
Yeah, but yeah, I let movies.
Some of us started too. You guys were late. I'm sorry.
Some of us had to work.
Yeah, it wasn't me. But there was this scene, right? And there are a couple scenes between Matt Damon and Robin Williams, the counseling sessions.
Had to see about a girl. Had to see about a girl.
Yeah, they had to see about a girl. There was also the on the same note was when Matt Damon asked Robin Williams about his relationship with his wife, right?
Oh yeah.
And he was asking, he's like, don't you ever think about how it would be if things were different? Because in the movie, you brought up the health things. That's kind of what spurred it, right?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something that, Robin Williams was talking about how his wife, basically died of cancer. And it was just cool to see that scene again, those two scenes. The one you had to see about girl, it's like talking about had tickets to the Game 6 of the World Series and
the Red Sox,
and then, girl walked in the bar and it's like, and he starts talking about the game and all that stuff. And it's like, and everyone stormed the field. And Matt Damon was like, so did you storm the field? He's like, nah, man, I was at the bar across the street.
Never went to the game.
Never went to the game.
That was
He's
when
like,
Carlton Fisk hit that home run.
I do love that, yeah, because in that scene, just a real light note on that part was the fact that it's like, he's like, no, I met my future wife that night.
Mm-hmm.
And that part, Matt Damon's like, yeah, but I mean, wouldn't it be great to be at that game? And Robin Williams was like, I didn't know Pudge was going to hit a home run.
Yeah.
So like there was a funny part of that, but he did bring up that
He's
point.
also like, you don't get it.
But that was the thing is that, he talked about like, having that mindset of if things were different and easier, you could be somewhere, right? And he talked about that. Rob Williams talked about in that scene about the fact that he's like, you know, all of the good memories. I'm not going to try to quote it or like reenact it, but it's like all the good memories and even the bad, like when she got cancer, and then even when she got really bad, he wouldn't trade a day of those memories.
So you talk about that whole part where he went off about talking about where his wife would fart in her sleep and stuff.
That was part of that, yeah.
That was completely ad-libbed.
Well,
and which
thank you for the movie trivia. I think it is funny, but
it makes that like
the point is that again, it's appreciating the good and the bad. The dreams don't always necessarily. So to Ray's point, fuck the dreams, focus on give, you know, now your all, is that exactly that. Some of your tough yet fondest memories was because you're doing exactly what Ray was talking about, what Sean was talking about with the health scares and the battles that you go through. And I think Teresa, your wife, would probably say much the same.
Yeah.
If it didn't turn out the way it has now, living that, you know, we haven't really talked about that, but trying to minimize the level of where you're at now, of that level of regret that, oh, if I would have played it this way, it might have happened differently.
Mm-hmm.
If I would have gone to the game, if I would have, you know, if we would have put a bid on a different house, like that would have been even better. Or like always that, like not allowing yourself to feel that satisfaction of hitting whatever goal or dream it might be, and creating those memories and appreciating those memories. Those are the moments that I think that it's a different mindset of truly appreciating, even when things don't go as planned. There are memories there that you are creating. It's just a matter of whether or not you're appreciating the fact that you were in that moment with that.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be a bad situation. We're all going to deal with that. And I know Ray had commented and suggested the dealing with loss. And I think that might come up with it a little bit, but I think this is really relevant in this conversation of memories or dreams, is that sometimes your dreams are absolutely taken out. You're taken out of the knees, you know, the wind's out of your sails. Like it is a complete shift. The dream, you didn't hit it. But if you're living in the now, you're giving it, as Ray said, that was focus on the now, give, quote, now your all. As long as you're living that day to day with a good balance of appreciation for memories and creating memories, and also having dreams that hopefully you can create a plan to try to get to that dream. And that dream may shift to something else. Again, not the car, the house, whatever it is. Sometimes it changes into, I want to be able to give my son someday a car, or be able to help them buying a house. Now, all of a sudden, the focus or the scope has now shifted. But that same mentality stays the same. It still needs to be there, because if you're giving the now your all, now all of a sudden, no matter what memories are coming your way, you need to be able to appreciate that to a point. And the dreams may change, but you still need to have that viewpoint, whether you die today or 30, 40, 50, 60 years from now. That mindset on your day-to-day is really, I think, what we all, and myself included, I think everyone in here, constantly has to really battle and work on.
Yep. Because it's easy to fall back into when life, I think a lot of it during the COVID times when people were stuck at home, I think there was a lot of that purgatory of just, you know, at that point, I think when everything was shut down, I mean, people probably really had simple dreams at that point, just to be able to go back out and live a normal life. And it seemed like back then, it's like you never didn't even know if you're going to get it or not, because it was, to me, pretty blown out of proportion. But at least though, we're back to normal life. And that's another memory, I guess, I can look back and then appreciate even more now, where I can be back in the garage with you guys. Something as simple as that was back, but back when
it was dream.
Because back, yeah, it was a fucking dream when I was sitting on my patio by myself, looking at everyone through a screen. I'm like, this sucks, dude. But it's, I don't know. It just, for me at least, the simple things became dreams during that time, because you take that shit for granted pretty quick. And
Steve talked about it. sometimes when we came back and started, when things opened back up, try and take those best practices that we learned during the shutdown and during all the times where we couldn't go all the places we wanted to, that made us appreciate a little bit more the places that for a while we weren't allowed to go. When there were those times we couldn't go to the cigar shop and hang out and smoke a cigar with friends. We couldn't go to a nice restaurant on our anniversary or something like that. Then when those things, when things opened back up, there were some people that realized all the things that they had missed out on during that time. And so they wanted to make up for lost time, it seemed like. And then there are some people that are like, that just completely went the other direction with it, where, the way things were during the shutdown and stuff, there are still some of those people that are still living like that.
Mhm.
And I mean, there's some people learn different values and different lessons from the whole thing.
There's been some comments there, from, Justin Turner again. That's me. I feel like I can never get that sense of accomplishment. When I meet that dream, it's always time to dream bigger. Again, that's the moments where it's the appreciation for hitting some of that. Nate, you said, don't forget that your now was once a dream. Ray says, how can you be so sure? Yeah. Again, I think it's something that, to Justin's comment I put up there is, quit dreaming of your bucket list items and get off your ass and do them. Again, I think that we're dancing around a little bit of what I was trying to say is that, yeah, the bucket list is something that could be some of a wish list. I want to go out and do those things within not sacrificing your day-to-day life.
Mhm.
If your dream is to travel around the world, and take a year off from work, well, can you do that? Legitimately, can you do that with your family and everything else?
Well, in the movie, Morgan Freeman was lucky enough to pair up with someone who was extremely wealthy who could afford all that shit.
Yeah. Money
But
helps.
also on the other side, Jack Nicholson's character was paired with someone who had those inspirations, had those dreams. And, the way he lived his life, he never really did any of that stuff. He was very successful, had a shit ton of money, but had horrible relationships with his kids, with his ex-wives and all that stuff. And it took someone else who didn't necessarily have the same things he did to teach him that type of lesson.
I think that brings up a good point. Seth already touched on it. It's about finding a partner or finding someone that's in your, find someone that can be, if you want to put it as a dream or whatever you want to call it, it's something that, a dream could be is not necessarily, yes, it'd be great to find a partner or a significant other, but also, surrounding yourself. Again, this is how you live your everyday life. And that's why I think I'm going to keep harping on the fact that it's living your day-to-day life to find that balance. If you have people, if you have dreams, you want to live a certain lifestyle or live a certain life path of success, however you deem what success is surround yourself with person or people that absolutely share that mindset so that you are in a constructive situation, as opposed to the opposite, where you have the dreams and all you do is surround yourself with people that aren't working as hard as you. They don't share similar goals. You know what I mean? Like, you want to do these things and all you do is surround yourself with people that may not share that. They can appreciate that you want to do that at best, but they just don't. That's going to put you in a living situation that's a very, in my opinion, very low level of fulfilling lifestyle, because all you'll do is kind of feed off of each other. And you're the one that's feeding the higher end of that life path. And all they're doing is bringing it down. So you have to, I think, be real careful on who you share your living moments with, because when you find that, and I think that's a level of also, you can find appreciation of your friends and family and people around you, but if they don't share what you want to do in your life, if you think you seek greater, I'm not saying you have to necessarily cut them out, but at the same time, you have to find people that share that same hunger, that same drive, that same dream, so that you guys can do it together. You can build off of each other, support each other. I think it's not always something you can do on your own. Just looking at the comments here.
Yeah.
I know there's some good
Yeah,
ones.
I like Kevin's comment. Are we just sitting there granny baking the garage with cigars? The door is cracked, but that's more because we don't want to have headaches from the propane heater burning all night.
Yeah, if you start seeing us nod off, you may want to call 911 for us.
Kevin, if you're local or even if you're not, like show up on a Wednesday night for the podcast and you
Granny bake with us.
All right, so let's go around the garage here, and anyone else out there, if you want to comment, we can bring it up on there. But it's like, so what are your dreams right now?
Oh, mine's
Whoever wants to start.
no,
Quiet crickets.
I mean, there's different, I guess, like there's family dreams, and usually it's always about traveling and wanting to go somewhere with my family. My wife is really good with like setting things up, and we've had opportunities to really go to places like the West Coast earlier this year, made some great memories and doing some stuff around Christmas, and which are great because it's fun to travel and get out and just kind of enjoy life for a little bit. But one thing that I used to do before we brought Molly home is I'm getting back into golf again, and I'm used to be into it a lot. But one things I always used to look forward to every year is I'd go on a golf trip down to like South Carolina for a long weekend and play like, I don't know, 36 holes Thursday, 36 holes Friday, 36 holes Saturday, 36 holes Sunday, and then drive home Monday. And then at night it was like playing poker or going to the strip club or whatever. But what was cool, there was anywhere from like 16 to 30, 28 or divisible by 4, 16 to 28 guys. And just some of the funnest part is they're all really close friends, and the trip down's fun. Stopping along the way, talking in the car.
Drive home was terrible.
Drive home was like never want to pick up a club again. But
it's any vacation.
But it was more than just playing the game. It was like spending time and creating memories with your friends.
Yeah.
And
same thing happened for me this year when I picked it back up.
Yeah. So I guess my goal or my dream I like to do down the road, my wife is like, kind of push me like to figure it out, is to do it again. But like all the people that I used to go with, they don't do it anymore. And I don't have a big group of people that I no longer know that could really go with me, or maybe even 4 people. Like, Lee went out to Ogle Bay, which is out in
West
Wheeling.
Virginia.
Yeah. And they said they went, and it was pretty fun. So he said next time maybe I may go with him and his friends. But something as simple as that, just to get away. And like we do things as a family, but I think it's important as an individual that, you go out, and if you want to travel, like Teresa's going to a retreat in 2 weeks, and she goes out and does things on her own. And it's a little bit easier for her to do what she wants to do because it's just kind of a simple one friend kind of thing. But mine's a little more just trying to find people that we want to go and then find the time to do it. So I miss it a lot, and it's something I'd love to do again.
Okay. Nate, how are you?
I forgot your question.
What are your dreams right now? I know you already mentioned the house and what you want to establish as a lifestyle.
I mean, yeah, that's probably the big one. There's not a whole lot that I really think about wanting to do, because I think sometimes if you get too focused on what you want to accomplish, you overlook the things that you have accomplished, or you don't appreciate what you actually do have. And Jess will probably attest to this, that, with some of my past failures in life, I don't dream as big as I used to. Yeah. Try not to get started on that. But no, like the things that I dream about doing are things that I know are attainable. They're nothing extravagant, because that's not the kind of lifestyle that either one of us want to have.
Sure.
But it's more about just, being able to have a house and a home, to be able to do the types of things that we want to do, to be able to create the type of memories we want to create. But they're not necessarily things that are specific. It's been kind of difficult for my wife and I to plan vacations. I know a couple years ago, with COVID and my stepdad passing away, like she wanted to plan a vacation for us, just because everything I was dealing with, some of that stuff hit me a little bit harder. And, she was coming up with ideas for where to go. And I was like, yeah, those places sound cool, but, I think those are more places that you would like to do. I don't know how much fun I would actually have there. And then we start talking about places where we could go where I could have more fun, but then is that necessarily something that she's going to have fun doing? And it's trying to find the balance to where both of us are enjoying what we're doing. Like, I was talking about going to Miami in August, not her cup of tea.
Okay.
Going and hanging out in cigar shops. Again, she can do that. Not necessarily what she wants to do all day.
It could be a guy's trip.
But she can walk around Miami and find things to do. But like the other places where she was talking about going, were out west in Wyoming and Montana. And I'm like, yep, you're gonna love walking around those small towns and all the scenery and everything like that. And I'm gonna be bored out of my
Just
mind.
bring cigars. Jesus,
don't you want to move there?
That's right. Yeah, going full circle. Yeah,
but then I don't have to work.
You don't have to work on vacation either.
Go find a Airbnb ranch home that has 1,000 acres and go fuck around with goats for a week. I don't know. Just
watch what you say there.
I'm not going to say what popped in my mind. But thank you for that comment, Sean.
Go ahead.
I have a real quick comment too, just kind of based on what you said. I guess it's a question for us too. Is it okay to not necessarily have a dream all the time? What if you're content in your life now? Is that okay?
I think it is okay. I think it's, again, that balance. It's important to have things to strive for, because that's what motivates you to actually get up and go do something. But I think there's a lot of people that overlook the now and what they've done to get to where they are. And they don't necessarily live in the moment because it's that whole hand in the face. They're so focused on everything either right up front that they can't see the future dreams and goals, or they're so focused on everything beyond their hand that they can't appreciate and see the now. And you have to find some sort of balance. And for everyone, that's different.
So, I think that we haven't really. I'm listening to you guys talk about this, and Sean, to your question is there is nothing wrong with living in a moment and being content where you're at. That's fine. I feel that is what we were talking about. Is you can appreciate the dreams that you've attained and where you're at, and look around you and appreciate everything. But I think that, to what you're saying, Nate, there's a big danger, I think, in your mindset, not you, but one's mindset. Sorry, I'll rephrase that. In one's mindset of,
it wouldn't be the first time you've called me out on the show.
Absolutely not. But you live in a real critical, I think, tipping point of living in the past. Mm-hmm. If you are there, I think there's a mindset that if you are content with where you're at, it will soon become a moment, possibly, of, if you've attained everything, it's the same thing as if you feel as though you have learned everything you need to learn. What the fuck is the point of living more? Well, because I'll say this. Sorry, I want to say that it's very dangerous to live in memories. I think that is quicksand. I think that is something that, if that's all you focus on, is, it's okay to take a moment. It's okay to take a little bit of time. Even whatever it is, month, year, whatever it is. I'm just going to live, and we're good right now. I got a good job, raising a family, you're on your own, whatever the circumstances may be. It's okay to do that. But I will venture to say that for the vast majority of people, even if you say, I'm good doing this for the next 30 years, you won't be. You're going to want more. You're going to want, something will happen from the outside. And then all of a sudden you're living in those moments. It's well, if I would have played it differently, would Would I have lost that job? Would I have lost this person? Would I have done whatever it might be? Because all you're doing is resting, just like anyone else, like an employee that maybe worked for you. You're resting on your laurels, and it's like, what have you done for me lately? And in the same sense, is what have you done for yourself lately to make all of this progress that you're living in the moment? I'm not saying you can't for a small period of time, but you have. I am a firm believer is that you will get in. It'll transition to a rut. You'll be in a rut, and now all of a sudden, now you're unhappy because every day is the fucking same, and everyone else around you will be moving at different paces. They'll be moving in different levels of movement, and now you're saying, like, I thought everything was good. It was good. But the reason it was good is because we got to that point. You reached that goal. You bought that house. You got the job. You had the kid. You did all this stuff. You've created memories. As soon as you stop creating memories, whether it's because you have new dreams or bigger dreams, but as soon as you stop putting effort into creating memories, you or someone around you that's important to you, whatever it might be, they will be unhappy. You will be unhappy. Life, I always say it, life is linear. So as soon as you stop moving in that line, you're dead.
Yeah.
And that's that whole thing of the living like you're dying, or like living with regret later on, laying on your deathbed, however you want to say it. And I wish I would have done more, or I wish I would have worked more. There's got to be a constant effort of creating new memories.
Yeah.
In short term. And yes, maybe the dreams continue to get shorter and shorter as you get older and older. Like, it's like, yeah, you don't necessarily like, no, this house, as long as you and whoever's living in it, like, we're good here. You agree. Like, we don't need a bigger house. We don't need a fancier car. I was talking to a customer today, and he's like, yeah, this car is paid off. It was a nice car or whatever. And I took it in for service, and the salesman says, hey, why don't you test drive this? We got this brand new one. And he's like, well, I don't need that. And it's like, let's take it for a test drive. He drove it. He's like, yeah, that's real nice. But he's gotten that point in life. He's like, I'm not putting my money towards this other car that, I don't need. And I already have a car I just took it in service, and you just made it right as rain. And I'd rather put this money towards this other part of what I want to do going forward.
Sure.
But there's got to be this effort and mindset of constantly moving forward, not leaving things behind, but also not living in the past. I think that is that tipping point that a lot of people, I've been there, where you're living in the past of a sense of memories. And that can be very crippling long-term if you switch over to that mindset completely.
Well, I guess I probably should have rephrased that. I mean, I see what you're saying, and I totally get it. I was looking more of at like a momentarily, like, time to just like reflect or chill or whatever, like
100%.
But yeah, there's no way in hell I could sit there and be like, all right, I'm done for rest of my life. I'd go fucking crazy. But I think there's some times to also, once you've attained that goal, and it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, is like taking that time to appreciate what you've obtained, live in that moment.
Yeah.
Maybe be content a little bit, but then moving forward, I think it's human nature for all of us to always want to move forward. Always want to do something. There's always something that can be done or you want to do. So I think maybe it's just a better way to say, hey, when you reach a goal or a dream or whatever it may be, is just cherish that for a little bit, create a memory or whatever, and just relish in it. And then once you've had that time to do it, a couple of days,
yep.
What's on, if you look at a businesses grow, like they've got goals to reach. Well, when you reach that goal, they don't stop at that goal. There's always going to be another goal to reach. It's never ending. So it's kind of the same thing, Sorry, I went off the track there because of,
I like it.
You had the question about your current dreams right now. So
yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah. What's your current dream? Or
Seth, go ahead.
Kind of touching on what Sean said, actually, kind of living in the moment. I think so. At the beginning of this year, we call it a goal board, or in this case, you could call it a dream board. At the beginning of the year, we created a dream board about wanting to own a house before the end of the year. So that was something that obviously we've checked off now. So now that we're in this living in the moment situation, it's time to sit back and think about what other dreams can we create moving forward from here. So maybe living in the moment may feel like a rut, like Steve was saying, but you have to be able to sit down and reflect on what dreams you want moving forward also.
Mm-hmm.
And again, bringing back to memories, living in the memories of now and dreaming of what could happen in the future.
Yeah, by reflecting allows you to see a better, clear picture of what your future goals or dreams want to be.
Absolutely.
Well, like what you said there actually is that like it's not necessarily that dream board or whatever, how life goal board, what it's not necessarily like the checklist and now it's what's the next check. It's not working a checklist, but I like the way you phrased that. And I think that's really important to actually appreciate is that, okay, what is another dream? What is another goal?
Yeah.
It's not working your system of, all right, we bought this house. All right, so in 5-7 years, whatever it might be, we got to buy the next house. So I think that is a little bit of, all right, you've accomplished this over here. All right, so we've like live in the memories and all that stuff. And it's not necessarily like that's living in a rut. But you said you're 36. If you bought this house and you're like, all right, bought the house, like we're good for the next, hopefully 50 years. There's nothing wrong with living in the same house, but even owning that house is going to take work. It's like, what do we like? What, even in that aspect, it's like at some point, if we stay in this house, we're going to have to replace the furnace. We're going to have to replace, like we're going to maintain that lifestyle. It's not necessarily living in the rut. I think a lot of people get in that rut because that's all they think about is like, all right, what's the next thing that's going to go wrong because we made this decision. But I like how you said, what's another dream as we go through life? What else can we accomplish? And I think that was what I'm saying is that it's not necessarily just resting on your laurels or,
sure.
And I think, maybe I took it a different angle, Sean, is that it is, again, appreciating your accomplishments and the memories you've created.
Mm-hmm.
But I now that you say it a different way, I see it as the fact that it's like, well, yeah, you take a sense and a moment to appreciate what you have.
Yeah.
I think that is very important.
Yeah.
Not just wanting the next thing.
And I worked for a company that they would set out goals for us to do, and it would be really hard to obtain. And I used to have a CEO I worked for that would walk in and say, "Did you get the goal?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, I spent like 5 hours a day nonstop." And I finally got, he's like, "Oh, great. Now what else are you going to do?" And it's like, motherfucker, let me have a moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Appreciate what you have done.
Yeah. He didn't give two shits, man. It was like so fucking.
So there's always a balance with that. No, I think that it's something also is that if whether it be your boss, whether it be your significant other, whether it even be yourself, there has to be what you were saying is an appreciation for that. Celebrate, if you will, the milestone or the accomplishment. But it's also like, yeah, like I just created a memory that I'm going to cherish for a long time.
Yep.
And then once you've appreciated that, hopefully you'll appreciate the memory, and hopefully that memory will drive you to another goal or another dream, like Seth was saying or it's like, you look at athletes a lot of times. It's like, say you win the championship. It's like, okay, great. Are you done playing? Well, no, I'm not done playing. It's like, all right, let's appreciate the win and the championship and the trophy and all that stuff. Next season's right around the corner. We got to keep working. How can we get better?
Twice as hard.
You're right.
Yep.
I think that's a mentality there.
Yep. I like that. So what's your goals?
So yeah, you asked that and I was
Sorry.
pushing that. No, it's absolutely fine. My goals right now, they're not super aggressive. I mean, I've gone through some transitions. Some of the steady things in life right now would be my job, and I'm constantly trying to do that. There's limited things that I can do with my current position. I'm happy with it. So to what you were saying is like, I'm not just going to like stop. I want to increase sales. I want to be able to, in a sense, influence people in a positive way to hopefully come back and maybe give some benefit to me in my life as well, doing the podcast. We've been doing this 242 episodes. It's not like it's like, oh, I want to have my goal or my dream is to have 1 million subscribers. That would be great, but I'm not willing with everything else going on in my life to put the effort in to do that. So I have to also rationalize some of my dreams or goals. It'd be great organically. All of a sudden we go on next week and all of a sudden there's there's 5,000 people watching live. That'd be fucking great.
Mhm.
But I'm also not going to put the financial investment into that or even the time investment into it.
Mhm.
You know, for me, I'm transitioning right now. One of my focus points would be, you know, my relationship.
Mhm.
And so there's some transitions going on there. I've been seeing the same person for not quite a year, but we're also trying to deal with our careers and being in, you know, she's in her 30s, I'm in my early 40s. And it's one of those things that it's like our lives are going through everything. She was there for me when I was dealing with some things. I've been trying to be there for her and her things.
Sure.
So, you know, right now, you know, what my dreams are is to hopefully get to a point where there's a little bit more, not saying it's rocky or anything like that, but there's more of a
Smooth sailing or a little smoother.
yeah, and it's not like that sounds bad
From the outside.
And she listens to this, so I'm trying to frame this the right way. So she, like, I can't believe you said that. No, it's not even that. It's the fact that
Sorry,
we
Kristen.
we can go through this transition of doing the dating and being a couple to the next step of you know, going forward. We've talked about living together. We've talked
Sure.
about, you know,
That's a
those
big
things.
step.
So it's like, you know, what you have gone through, Seth, and you know, being married and then having a kid and buying a house. It's like, in a different sense, I've now been in a reset button in a certain aspect of my life that, yeah, I want to have a steady home life is how I'll say it.
Sure.
Right.
Mhm.
So I have some similar goals, not necessarily having kids or doing that stuff, but it's like, I would like to, one of my dreams or my goals right now is to keep everything, pay enough attention to my career, my friends, doing things that I want to do, and the hobbies and everything else. Also being able to have a respectful and a constantly progressing relationship with the person I'm with, while she's doing the same thing over here, because we've both come from our past where it's like there has been some failures in relationships.
Yeah.
And so now we're trying to do that. So if I had to say anything that I'm really focusing on is trying to maintain and grow my career, my health, and do all that stuff, but also really put my effort into that.
Yeah.
So that I can put take all of my lessons from my past and everything
Sure.
else and put it towards that.
That's awesome.
So
Good goal.
that, I mean, yeah, I think that's a good dream, because, you know, it doesn't, like, even if things change and again, life gets in the way or throws you curveballs, it's not necessarily me sitting back and be like, yeah, things were good back then with this person. Things were good with this job at that time. It's like, you're not with that person. You're not in that job.
Mhm.
You're here. So how do you make the best of where you're at right now and learn from your past, so that, again, you can easily shift completely and close off if you want to, but there's an opportunity there that what was important to you in those memories, I think they can also frame some of your future dreams and goals.
Yep.
Based on what you succeeded at and also what you may have failed at. I know, Nate, you commented on that, you know, with the job stuff and talking to Jess, and you've talked about on the podcast before, but I think it is all about mindset of what drives your dreams, no matter what the shift of what's important to you at that time in your life, because that will constantly change. When we're all hopefully sitting around here in a garage doing a podcast in our 80s, I think we're all going to have
ambitious.
some different stories. Here we are, episode
God
2.
damn it, Nate, quit farting. Yeah, we're gonna do one of those.
Here we are,
Wait a
episode,
minute.
you know, 18,403. You know, it's like, you know, like, I think that's something that you really have to appreciate, the fact that we're doing this now. But again, this is creating memories constantly. I think that should be a dream, is that you never stop creating memories.
I will say, I want to give you guys all props at Tinderbox, because Brian, you know, kind of him, and then you guys as well, as think of all of the goals that Brian has brought, and then you have all contributed to that shop and created so many memories for so many people that walk in and out of that door every day.
Yeah.
And then look at that, how the community is built. I mean, that's a pretty incredible goal or / dream that you guys have all attained through hard work. And you don't get that in every place you walk into, to have that sense of community, and just, you can walk up to somebody you don't even know. I can't tell you how many people I've walked up and sat next to and end up talking to for 3 hours I've met for the first time. and are friends with them ever since. And I love that atmosphere. I love that environment. So thank you guys for having that for us. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, appreciate it.
One thing also to that, and I mean, specifically the cigar shop, but you can expand that out into other areas of your life. But there are probably some aspects of the Tinderbox, Brian, who's owned that for 23 years.
Yeah.
There are probably some things that the Tinderbox does that Brian probably never envisioned doing.
Right.
Like some of the events and stuff like that,
Yes.
that the shop does. What it took was having someone else like Steve who
Yep.
had a different type of mindset
Yep.
to be able to do some of those things that also helped the original goal of growing the business.
Sure.
But sometimes you might be so focused, and like when Sean talked about going on, vacations or stuff like that. Like Sean is so focused on certain aspects of his life, he forgets to do some of those other things, and that's why he's happy that he has his wife to be able to remind him to do some of those things.
Yep.
It's the same thing with the shop. Sometimes you get so focused on the day-to-day, you forget about some of the other things that you can do to help grow the business, or some of the other ideas and creativity that revolve around the community. And it takes someone else who has that mindset, because Steve's not the owner of the Tinderbox. So Steve has a different viewpoint. He has different goals of what he would like to see. And he's able to, Brian is open enough to, accept some of those ideas that Steve has.
Awesome.
And a lot of those, he gives Steve control and, free reign to be able to do some of those things. Like, all right, if you think this will be a good idea and this will, do well for the shop, like, all right, let's do it. It kind of makes me
touching on any relationship success.
It almost makes you think of, the plan you had with the BS Silver Rabito. Like,
yeah.
I mean, small scale, but that was a side project you had worked on for Brian's 20th anniversary of owning the Tinderbox, and you did it for the 10 event for 2019, and you weren't sure how it was going to be received.
I just did it.
You just did it. You worked with Eric and Hector to do that. You weren't sure how Brian was going to take it, but when those cigars finally showed up at the shop and you showed Brian the packaging where it had that logo for Brian's 20th, and then you told Brian the story, and Brian smoked one of those cigars, what was his reaction when he actually smoked one of those?
We should have ordered more.
Yeah. But that was something that Brian wasn't thinking of, because he had other focuses on his life and on the business. But he needed a side person who saw things differently, who didn't necessarily deal with the same day-to-day responsibilities and operations, who had the freedom of creativity to be able to do that, because you weren't burdened with the same responsibilities
Correct.
as Brian was.
3 things on that. If I can remember them. One, like I said, I mentioned real quick and I interjected. I apologize, but that's any successful relationship. There's a lot of times you have to give up a little bit. If you value the opinion, you trust that other person, to sometimes you have to give a little bit of control up. Talked about home improvements with Sean. As you guys get into it more, Nate and Seth, your wife says, I really want this floor. I really want to put this, and you're looking at it, you're like, I think I'd rather do this. Not getting into the happy wife, happy life thing, but I'm saying there might be something that, if you trust that person, you look at it, you're like, I think it might be good, but I think it'd be better this way. But you look at it and you're like, you know what? You feel that passionately about it. Let's do it. And you might walk into that project after you've done it, you hired someone, whatever it might be, and you walk into that bathroom, you walk in that room with the flooring, whatever it is, and you're like, fuck, man, that is so much better than what I would have picked. You know what I mean? Like that is something something there. I'm drawing a blank on number 2. The number 3 was I'll probably think of it. But the
maybe this is number 2.
After we log off.
The number 3, number 2 is out there somewhere. Number 3 is listening to you guys before, and then we're gonna go closing remarks. You two, and you were nodding. I don't know if you're into golf. fucking go on a guy's trip. Jesus Christ. Your solution is Sean wants to go do it again. He doesn't have the guys anymore. Nate, you're talking about like, well, we can go on a vacation. I might have to give up what makes me happy, going to cigar shops and golfing and stuff, but I might have to do this. It's like, well, here's your +1. And then he's nodding in my peripheral. And it's like, well, there's a +3. It's like, well, there's 2 new friends that you can go on a fucking trip with. And it's like, you're looking for a vacation. You've got a kid. You need to get out of the house at some point. Well, there's 3. Get a 4th, and they might be listening tonight. Now you got to force them that you can go get an Airbnb and go have a guy's trip. I'll go. I'm just not going to golf with you guys. I'll drive the golf car. I'll golf, but you guys are going to hate it. I'll smoke cigars, drink with you, do all that stuff.
It's all about who you're with.
Yeah, but we're going to do that too.
My point is that you guys like keep talking, man, I just wish I had someone to do it. I'm like, I'm looking around a garage with 4 people in it, and 4 of us love everything except for maybe one doesn't really enjoy the golf thing. Pretty sure we can find an easy, cheap weekend trip. You just got to fucking go do it. Close remarks.
Okay.
You guys book it. I'll see if I'm free.
That means we're going to have a couple people covering us. At the
well, at least you got 3. All right. We'll get another person that doesn't work at the Tinder box.
They're really fucked. We did
Oh, no. Can't take
No,
Todd.
Todd's out.
Yeah.
The fucking lefty.
I'll start real quick. Just for closing remarks. I think that we touched on a lot tonight with this and reaching your goals and your dreams, but I think it's, I'm just kind of probably repeat what we already talked about, but it's, you cherish the memories you have from the goals and the dreams you made. And it's okay to take a step back and just stay in that present moment. But then, not too long, just because you're I think just instinctually you're going to want to move forward anyway. So you're going to look for something else that you want to do or needs to be done. And I think as I've gotten older, like there's certain dreams that I know that aren't attainable. So yeah, it's more of those like a forethought. That'd be cool, but all right, realistically, what's something that I could do instead of that's a little more attainable? Like try to find a balance with that, or but I think that's the comments tonight were amazing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of good suggestions, a lot of good things, and a lot of ideas of thoughts, for me moving forward with like, having those times to like, get off my ass and do it things. And there's also the times to like, still cherish what I have and appreciate what I have. And by that being in the present. And, man, that's it. I mean, I think I'm tapped out with it all because I think we've covered a lot tonight, and I think
Good conversation.
It's been a great conversation, and for me, I know with this, this is one of the things I love to do every week. I create memories every week, and I come here, whether I'm back there or I'm on here.
Appreciate
and
that.
I enjoy every moment of it. And that's something I'll always be grateful for, and I'll always reflect on it and be grateful that Steve opens a garage for us to come and do this, and for the people to come and watch and participate online. It's a nice, it's just a nice thing to have. So that's all I got.
Anything? See, that's what happens when you come in the garage.
Yeah,
You show up to the garage, you're going to get on the mic.
you're hooked now.
I guess really all I could say is never stop dreaming big. And even if you're, like we touched on, even if you get stuck in a spot where you're in a lull, just never stop dreaming. The dreaming is what creates the memories. So, and never stop living in the memories either, because that's what pushes your dreams forward.
I like that.
Good.
Nate?
I think sometimes, especially now with younger generations, I think we want our dreams too soon. And
Too soon?
yeah,
So I
Like-
want it now. Yeah.
it's that
Perfect.
now mentality.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, when you go back a couple of generations, I remember hearing this in one of the financial classes that I had taken. When we want the type of things our parents have now when we're in our 20s. we don't realize it. And sometimes we forget that it took them, 20, 30 years to get there, but we want it now. So like, as soon as we get out of college, we want a house, we want a marriage, we want kids, we want the car, we want all this stuff.
Mhm.
And we don't, because we see that our parents have it, we see other people around us might have it, and we don't necessarily realize that the work that goes into actually getting there. And that's why I said earlier, like sometimes the good things are worth working for. They're worth waiting for. When I was younger, like I had dreams of being married by a certain age. That didn't happen. Thank God it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Because if I was so focused on that particular goal, I may have ended up in the wrong relationship. I may have ended up in a really bad relationship. I wouldn't have the one that I have now. And when Steve was talking very early on in part 2, it made me think of one time we had Ann Dimick on. And she's like, if you go back to when you were 18 and could do things different, would you? And you guys give me so much shit.
It was valid.
It was.
That was, sorry, I sat back. That's valid shit.
But
I don't know if you ever answered the question. To this day, I don't think you answered the question.
Tiptoe.
No, I haven't.
But I would have never met my wife. But okay, we got it. But go ahead.
But that's the thing. Like, that's why I wouldn't have changed it, because of the life I have now with my wife. I realized
You're Robin Williams in the Good Will Hunting.
Yeah. What if Robin Williams went to the game and didn't stay at the bar? Maybe he wouldn't have met the woman of his dreams.
You should have brought that example up, that podcast.
Yep.
So
You're
get
a few
that.
months too late.
Yeah, get a few months. That was a
Few
long time.
months.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah,
year.
lock that in your memory bank next time you're trying to explain that.
All right.
You ever seen Good Will Hunting?
But I think also sometimes, like when we do reach a goal, or we reach a dream, we forget all the things that we went through that got us to that point. And sometimes it's important to not second guess the decisions you made and actually appreciate where you came from.
Yeah.
Like the things that the place you were, the person you were compared to the person you are now, or the things that you have now, like you appreciate the things that you've done. Like if you're happy with where you are, if you're happy with who you're with, quit second guessing the decisions that got you there. Like we can sit there and say, yeah,
sure.
I wish I'd have gone into this career. I wish I would have gone to this school. I wish I'd have done this. But then you don't really appreciate, where you are. And the last thing I'll say is I recently saw a video where this gentleman was on a beach with his family at a sunset. So they were out on the West Coast, and they're sitting at the beach watching this beautiful sunset. And he looks over and he sees this group of 20-somethings come to the beach, and they get a football out, but they're never throwing the football. They're literally just taking pictures with the football, with the sunset in the background.
Gorgeous.
And then they pack up and leave. They were there for 10 minutes just to take a bunch of pictures, put them on social media, and then leave. And he's sitting there going like, I think we forgot the point of going to a beach.
Yeah.
I think we forgot the point of sitting at a sunset or a sunrise.
Yep.
We want to do things to show off and look cool, but we don't want to appreciate the moment that we're in, because we're so focused on some. And we talked about this a little bit when we did the influencers topic. Like, we're so, there are some people that are so focused on portraying an image or portraying a lifestyle that they don't actually live their life. And it passes them by. And if all they're doing is portraying a certain image, do they ever actually get to live that image
or obtain a real goal? I think just real quick, when you talk about shut up, Steve.
I get it.
It'll be fast.
I normally get that.
Okay. I'll be fast, but I'll
How's it
notice
feel,
like
Nate?
when
How's it feel? Go ahead.
I
Sean.
notice when I'm somewhere and I see a sunset or I see something really like the trees are turning, and it's like I so bad sometimes like I got to get a picture, and then like I'll stop myself and like, you know what, this is just for me and myself to enjoy.
Well,
And it makes it that much more better.
I remember
Now, shut up.
there have been times where I've seen pictures where like you have a parade or something, or you have a scene at a beach or something, and you have all these young people, 20s and 30s, that they're all out there with their phones taking pictures or recording videos. But then you have the older people, they're just standing there. They don't have their phones out.
They don't know how to use them.
Bullshit.
It's hard to do with flip phones.
They're
1.3 megapixel, baby.
no, but they're standing there. The younger people, they're going to remember that by looking through their screen and looking at the video they took.
Facebook memories, bro.
That older person is actually going to remember looking at the event through their eyes.
Yeah.
I'll bring it longer.
I think there's
because there's an emotion attached to it.
There's a mind frame there, though, is that he brought up the Facebook memories. There's value in how you do it and why you're doing it. It's always why you're doing it. If you're out there taking pictures of you with football so that your friends say something, whatever, that's bullshit. But if you're out there, whether you're old or young or whatever it is, and you see a sunset, you're on vacation, some people don't understand that. And that's not for everyone to understand. But if you're taking pictures of it, remember when you used to like take pictures that no one else could fucking see? You had those annoying aunts and uncles that were like, hey, you want to see the slideshow from our vacation? And you're like, no, not really. But all right, here we are. Like we're going to sit here while they click. Now we've gotten to the point. It's why you're doing it. If you're doing it for everyone else's enjoyment or to feel like people appreciate you, like, yeah, that's not necessarily going to be very fulfilling. If you're doing it to share with people that will appreciate it because they appreciate you, that they're happy that you're there, and that, the pictures you took that you posted on Facebook that a year later, 2 years later, took pictures of your, of Molly. And it's like, now it comes up, like you're doing Seth, like you take a vacation. I get Facebook memories every day. I enjoy looking at them.
Yeah.
Well, and sometimes those Facebook memories, when you see them, it'll actually trigger you actually remembering being there for the event.
Because you did it for the right reasons.
Right.
So it's been scientifically proven that if you can attach an emotion to an event, it will burn into your memory and you can remember it forever.
As soon as Facebook can put smells on there, it'd be good.
When people take pictures on vacation, they're not going to remember taking the picture.
Right.
They're going to remember being there to take the picture.
That was my point. Is why you're doing it.
Good point.
My closing remarks is enjoy life. Figure out how you're going to enjoy life and how you are enjoying life. I think that was a great kind of thing, with what you just said there, Nate, as far as, creating memories. If you're just setting a stage and trying to influence all this stuff, you're not creating memories for yourself. You're not doing what we just, where we turn that. You can take pictures of the sunset. Yeah, there might be people there that are there just doing it. And that's how they appreciate it. But it's how are you enjoying life?
Yep.
That's truly, I feel like, how you can create memories of knowing yourself. There's a lot of self-assessment there that many people don't do, but it's about how, like, when you are creating memories, do you appreciate the moment you're in, like Sean was talking about? You know what I mean? Do you take that moment to just really appreciate the accomplishments without flirting with the other side of just living in the memories, living in the past, doing just like, I not necessarily stopping what you're doing, but you like the past more than what you're doing in the present and the future. Things were better then because it was before the, before the job became a job, before the marriage became just work. And there are things that along the ride, you figure out how you are and what you need to do on your side and what you need from the outside of how you're enjoying life. And I think the memories or dreams things, and I saw this, what Ray had commented, there's a couple of good ones on there as well. But, he said, dreams aren't gifted. You work your ass off for them. It's funny. I always like Ray on this feed because I feel like what he says like earlier on the podcast and as we talk about stuff, his comments actually start aligning with some of the stuff we're talking about, which they didn't. I'm not saying he's wrong. Then I suppose they're not dreams but rewards. That's exactly what we were talking about. Dreams, when he was talking about like dreams can be sometimes if you do on the material possessions and stuff like that. But I also know that he at one point bought a Porsche that was like this maybe it wasn't a dream car, but he rewarded himself because he got to that point in life that he was able to do that without selling the farm and going broke doing it.
Yeah.
Because that is maybe a dream that I can own this car, or I can buy a house, or I can start a family, whatever it might be. We talked about a lot in part 2, which was I think that the level of importance on different things in your life, it does change. But once again, it's if you know the importance on enjoying your life, then the steps you're making on a day-to-day basis and the people that are around you, the people that come into your life, the people that you want in your life, that's really, I think, where you find that balance between creating memories and having dreams of moving forward and going through life in that linear timeline that you're in. Is the balance is really of enjoying life and what you're willing to sacrifice is really the tough line to walk. Because as you get older, the more responsibilities, you have a family, whatever it might be, what you're willing to sacrifice changes. That then influences what's important in your life. And I think in that will then like that lies what your dreams have become going forward and what kind of memories you're trying to create. What you're willing to sacrifice for what's important in your life. And at the root of all of it, you just have to continue to enjoy life. If you're not enjoying life, I'm sorry, you're doing it wrong. You'll have setbacks, you'll have failures, but if the consistency, just like anything else in life, if the cons outweigh the pros, you need to change something. And I think that it's a good lifestyle.
Yep.
It's a good mindset. So those are my closing remarks. Thank you to all our sponsors out there, guys. Happy Whiskey Wednesday. Cheers. Nate, Seth, welcome to the garage. And all you guys, you're always welcome in the garage. Thank you very much. Happy Whiskey Wednesday. We will see you next week for some sort of Halloween episode.
I'll wear a costume.
What are you
Unfortunately, my wife threw away my Halloween costume.
Good. You have to cover the new one. All right, guys. Cheers. We'll see you next week.
Yep.